Take a seat, you cannot stand it. All I know, the flow harder than a Scotch bonnet. Don't try studying me, you cannot manage. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.
Yeah, you better listen. I'm bringing heat, you'll be a fan when I start rapping. Way I'll have your fucking head spinning. I'm known as spit vicious, release bombs and go tick tick. Boom, you blown me that head missing. I'm a phenomenon, stacking cheese like it's Parmesan. 8 different flows, call me Octomom. I'm moving fast like the Autobahn, and I'm independent, so I'm not your fucking starving like it's Ramadan. Sick, twisted, gifted, can't copy, printed, can't hold me down. I shape shift, I'm liquid. I killed this beat, I might get convicted. They know how I move, it was predicted. Persistent, spoke it into existence, so consistent, no assistance. Hear me once, become addicted. If I rap it, then I live it. There's no cap, and I'll be speaking this.
This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.
Prepare to die. Prepare to die. Welcome to a whole new world. Your planet is now under mid-rangers' control. Humanity will be exterminated. If you hear this message, do not try to leave. Do not try to fight. Do not try to resist. You will be eliminated. You will be eliminated.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting week of the Victoris Amateur Draft League here on Monday nights. I am your host, Becky Rita, and with me today I have Infinite Dodge and Arlen. Our good friend Huey could not be here today, so we have Dodge coming in to fill in, and we really appreciate it. Thank you for hopping on.
Oh, of course,
Thank
of
you,
course.
thank you. Glad to have you here, and of course, glad to have you here again, Arlen.
It's
You
always
know,
a pleasure.
yeah, you're very relaxing, calm demeanor for now. We'll see if
Always
we can't
chilling.
we'll see if we can't spike that blood pressure a little bit tonight. So so first of all, we gotta dial it back, be a little serious here, because there is a notice we have to provide to the fans that is relevant to the standings and the stats and everything else. The Outlaws mid laner Zinema has been banned. As a result, the Outlaws will be replaying their previous matches, and the standings and stats will be updated accordingly once those matches have been played. For now, I will be using the other Outlaws' current stats until the rematches have been recorded. So we have one result from them as of right now, but we are still waiting to see that. And, it's unfortunate when this sort of thing happens and, people skirt around the rules and now matches have to get replayed, but such is the nature of this kind of league. You can't get them all. You can't stop them all. So
Not immediately, anyway. You
not
did get
immediately.
got. That is important.
Did get
Eventually.
got. So that's what matters, and we will be moving on regardless. So as a recap of last week, we didn't get to watch all those matches, but it's all right. They were some exciting results. Particularly the Hammerheads remain undefeated at 6-0, taking an important win over the Dragons. And I believe they retained their they won the rematch against the Outlaws when they played it. That is why they are at 6-0. The Bandits turned their luck around and got a huge 3-0 week, which put them back into the top of the table and looking towards the playoff contention, which is really good for them. After a very rough 0-3 first week, getting that 3-0 has got to feel good for them. The Phantoms were hunted quite sufficiently. Everybody's looking like Zach Bagans out there, and they have sunk to 8th place, tied with the Hounds, who picked up their first win. The Dragons did not quite live up to the hype that we expected from them, and ended up dropping 2 games during last week's matches. Losing games against the Wolves and the Hammerheads.
Should be pretty pog, all things considered. Just hopping in as a first-timer on Amateur Draft. Gonna be pretty sweet to see the Hammerheads right away here and see what the 6-0 team is made out of in our first game of the night here. I'm very excited.
Yeah. And on the other end, the Unicorns are sitting at 0-6, but it's okay because they are on par with Team Solo Mid in the LCS. So you have to give them respect. You have to give them respect for that they are as good as the premier North American organization, Team Solo Mid.
So excited to see the TSM CLG rivalry finally reignited.
Oh, I'm
Battle of the basement, baby.
Oh, brother, dude.
The Junkyard Battle. Oh, I'm so excited to see that one. It's like their last match of the first round robin too, and it's so depressing.
Not to linger too long on LCS, but the greatest thing about that is Luger and Spica have solo queue beef too. So like, it's really gonna be spicy.
I hope they
I'm forward to that.
I hope they maintain their defeated record, and
up until
I hope they stay defeated.
I hope
somebody
they remain
has to win.
So we get that real battle of the bastards there for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And as a last note, congrats to Hammerhead Sharky for cracking 100 assists. The first player to get 3 digits in any stat. Fun fact.
Wow, quite the accomplishment. Congrats to Sharky. That's and what an apt name for the team he is on. Gotta love that sort of serendipitous outcome.
Yeah, but today we have a special show for you, a special pre-show here. We are going to be doing what I have decided to call the 200 Years of LOL quiz show, 200 years of collective League of Legends experience quiz show, which will be a quiz show full of Boomer League trivia that hopefully you will find very exciting. And of course, we have the belt that I guess will go in spirit to the desk if they can succeed.
The spiritual belt, the best kind.
The spiritual belt, because the goal of the desk is they are going to try and get 6 out of 8 of these questions right, and if they do, they I guess they get the spirit belt. But you in the chat, you will be gambling to see if our hosts here can get 6 or more questions right. So, will the disc get 75% of the questions right? What do you think? Bet now. Obviously, the odds aren't necessarily in their favor, but I'm not going to say these questions are, the most difficult, but we will have to see.
The
So we have
brain power is too big. We're too massive here. There's no way we lose.
We're geniuses.
Absolutely. So get those bets in quick, because we are going to be starting quick, because we do not have a whole lot of time before the games start. So we're going to go into right now question 1. So I will.
Question 1 coming up.
All right, so I believe it'll come up on the stream if you have it open. So this champion, despite being featured in the official in-game trailer in 2009, would not release until 2 years after they were first designed. Who are they?
Well, I'm pretty sure I know this, but
Okay.
I'll give my co-host, my big brain colorcaster.
Brother.
Arlen, what are
do
you
have
thinking?
any idea, or should I put my best guess out there?
You know what? I'm not a boomer, so go ahead and put your
All
best
right,
guess out here.
what are we thinking? What are we thinking,
God?
Dodge?
I do believe it is Lee Sin, the Blind Monk.
It is in fact Lee Sin, the Blind Monk, who was in that trailer very briefly, and then would reappear later on, and showed up in an April Fool's post in 2010, and then was released in 2011.
Wow.
Yep.
With his own special champion spotlight, where they called him a ranged melee tanky DPS assassin mage tank support jungler.
Which
So
is
it's
great.
true. It's true. All right,
Fun
they
bit
got
of
one
trivia.
right. 1 of 8. We're making good progress. All right, question 2. Poppy's heroic charge is a notoriously janky ability even after her rework, yet it was even worse on release. What bug was so game-breaking that it was hot-fixed within an hour of being discovered?
All right, again, I think I know this one.
Oh,
have
we
you
got
been
another
around?
boomer on the desk. Any idea, Arlen? I picked some really niche questions.
You really did, because what?
Okay,
Well, this was
no
one of my
clues.
favorite bugs that's ever
There-
been in League. It's so
What?
good.
there have
Is
been
it
a
the
couple
one-
of poppy bugs.
Is it
Go
the
ahead,
one that
go.
made her completely invisible or invincible?
Oh, that is a good one, but it's not the one I included.
Oh, okay.
All right,
Okay.
what do you think it is?
Okay, so there are a couple of poppy bugs I can think of. So I think this is either the one where she could hit everybody on the map at the
Ooh.
same time in
That
Fountain,
is a good one.
or is it the one that knocked her out of the map and you couldn't
Ooh.
play anymore?
Oh, that's another good one. That's not what I included. So, as
Oh my
here's a couple
goodness.
hints. It was briefly possible to destroy an entire lane of turrets using this technique.
Oh.
However, it would only destroy your own turrets. And this technique was rather slow, as Poppy would have to push her target quite a distance from the jungle.
So could she E allies?
No, I'll give you 10. I'll give you
What?
5 more seconds. All right, what is it? Wait, any last 5 seconds? You got? Will you get it?
No
Any
clue.
ideas?
Chef F, vote yes. Go next.
All right. The bug is Poppy used to be able to push Baron Nashor out of the pit
Oh my
and
God.
into the lanes. There's a very good video. You can look it up if you just look
That's
up Poppy pushes
amazing.
Baron in YouTube. It's a classic.
Oh my
So-
god. That
We're-
is
so
I
that,
would not have guessed
we're-
that.
So yeah, that's 1 miss. We gotta see. All right, question 3. Let's move on here as fast as we can.
3 phones.
Zaya and Rakan made waves with their simultaneous release. However, they were not the first to do so post-launch. What other pair of champions had a simultaneous release?
is the hint that it's 2 of these 4 champions?
No, these are also champions that are. I just picked some old champions. They were released within the same like time frame as these champions.
Okay.
So I will say that they are within the first 10 new champions after the game's official launch.
Nasus and Renekton?
Those Nasus is one of the original 40, and Renekton is not. Renekton's released fairly later, actually. But the first of these 2 was notorious for spearheading early game dominance and becoming a walking stun after 15 minutes.
Oh.
The second of these 2 never really found a home in one lane, but their earliest role saw them rolling out the barrel in the mid lane.
Udyr and GP?
GP is original 50, Sion's original 50. Your time is up. I will call it. Gragas and Pantheon were released on the same day. They were the only other champions aside from the original 40 that released on the same day. Since release. I don't know why. I assume they're dating. Yeah.
So do we have to get
Pantheon
the rest of
and
them now?
Gragas. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Yeah, you gotta get perfect. You gotta get perfect from here on out. We're gonna move into question 4. Ionian Boots of Lucidity, as we know, came from a show match held on December 10th, 2010. Each team was allowed to use a pool of 10 champions each to represent the battle between Ionia and Noxus. What champion did not represent Noxus? And these 5 champions on your screen are your options. Of these 5, which did not represent Noxus?
Well, Swain and LeBlanc represent Noxus in the lore. Like they're very Swain, they're very much intrinsically tied to Noxus. I know nothing about Rammus's lore. I don't even know if he has lore. I think he might be like Shaco, where he exists.
Okay, I will help rule a couple. I will rule one out. LeBlanc is not it. Oh wait, LeBlanc was representing Noxus.
Of course.
What are you feeling, Arlen? I'm feeling either Misfortune or Rammus.
It has to be Misfortune or Rammus. There's no other option because Vladimir is also part of Noxus.
I will rule out another one. Misfortune did represent Noxus at this event.
Okay, I'm putting all my chips on Rammus then. Arlen, let's come to a consensus.
All on Rammus.
You are wrong! I am so sorry. It was Swain. Swain did not represent Noxus at this event.
That's dirty.
Despite the fact that Swain had released 2 months prior to it. Nobody knows why Rammus was included as representing Noxus. It's a mystery to everybody.
That's so bizarre.
Classic League. All right, question number 5. Lux is one of the most popular champions and has been since her release. Which of these pieces of art was official Riot Games artwork for her? And you can use the dragon symbol to pick which one.
I'm feeling Mountain Drake here, because the specific style of it reminds me, like, she still has that one, I think it's like Commandress Lux or something. It's that one really crappy legacy skin of hers, and the art style looks really similar there. I'm just praying it's not Windrake.
I'm pretty sure it's Mountain. It has to be Mountain.
Final answer?
Let's go with Mountain.
All right, it is in fact Mountain Drake. That is the unreleased official splash art of Lux.
Whoa.
It was changed because, oh god, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Cloud Drake, you pointed out Cloud Drake. Cloud Drake is actually the original concept art drawn by Shirelia, who was Lux's designer.
Gotcha. All right.
All right, question 6. During the early years of LoL's release, certain epic skins would receive trailers to highlight their quality. What was the 3rd skin to receive this treatment? And I will go ahead and give you those hints now. The first was Gentleman Cho'Gath, which showcased a static image and a collection of excellent voice lines. The second was Corporate Mundo, which showed off the skin in-game in addition to voice lines and splash art. The third, well, let's just say that, considering Riot's recent controversies, the comedy sketch included has aged exceptionally poorly.
Oh no.
And the images here are also epic skins. Yeah, Ice Toboggan Corky was 1820. Can you believe it?
I would never.
Could it be Captain Misfortune?
It is not. It is not Captain Misfortune. You got to think older. You gotta think older. What skin do you think would be controversial?
So many.
In hindsight.
Like
In
every
hindsight.
old Riot skin. Like
In hindsight, based
They're-
on Riot's controversy.
I mean, they're all so sexist.
All right.
They're all pretty
Well,
rough.
here it is. It's Broloff.
Oh, that makes so
Broloff.
much sense.
Yeah, it adds up.
Okay.
Yeah.
It adds
Alright.
up.
And we gotta hurry this up here. So, question 7. Here's a simple one. What within League of Legends history has been officially advertised with "It's fast, it's fun"?
Aram?
Uh, I will say it is not ARAM. Ramus is fast and fun. It is a game mode. It is one of the game modes. It's
Game
not
mode.
Twisted Tree Line.
Snowdown Showdown?
It's not Snowdown Showdown. All right, we're gonna
AR Earth.
we're gonna have to move this along. Here, I'll give you one
I guess
hint.
Dominion?
It is
what a-
Dominion. You got it. Dominion. It's
Play
fast. It's
Dominion.
fun. It's the future of League.
Oh, well, we all
Deleted.
saw how that one worked out.
And the last question, and I will probably just give this piece of lore because you did not get 6 out of 8 correct, both of you.
Sadly.
Silver Scrapes is now an iconic part of competitive League of Legends. However,
Oh,
it
I know
wasn't
this.
always a song that indicated hype. What is the lore behind the song's binding ties to LoL esports?
Season 2 World Championship technical difficulties, baby. They played this
Oh.
on loop during every technical pause.
Yeah, most specifically, it was the match between CLG EU and World Elite, where it was a full series where each game went to 50 minutes and each game had a bunch of pauses, and between each game there was a 90-minute break, and all you got during any of these pauses was simple scrapes.
Let's
it was
go.
awful.
I would cry.
That sounds amazing.
I would cry.
I wish I had been there.
Oh,
wish I
it was so good. It was so good. All right, well, that is the quiz, the 200 years of collective League of Legends experience quiz show. I did pick some good boomer questions. I
They were
will
all
say,
boomer.
I picked these off the top of my head. These are just things I knew. And I double checked it, of course, to make sure I wasn't fake remembering things. But yes.
Well, then
These
I
are-
bow down to your galaxy brain. Never would I have been that mega mind.
It's not impressive. It's sad, actually, that I know this much about
Boomer
League of
moment.
Legends. But
Can't anybody who knows anything about League of Legends make that same claim, though?
yeah, but we ran over time a little bit for the pre-show, so I will go ahead and give you two. You do not have the belt, but you do have the floor. Go ahead and take it over for our Game 1 draft between the Hammerheads and the Sharks. The battle for seawater supremacy begins now.
All right, let's do it. Hopping on into the draft for game number 1. Let me just make sure that my draft link actually works because we changed lobbies. Okay, there we go. So, I'm sort of the new blood here in terms of just filling in tonight here. So I think you could probably tell me a bit more about these teams' draft priorities as we see Vayne taken off the board first. Not the most meta ban, but definitely a problem champion right about now. And Shaco, the response. What can you tell me about these bans so far?
So I can definitely tell you about the Vayne ban more than anything. It's like both of these bans, both the Balzahar and Vayne bans, are both targeted directly at Defile and Spectral, right? Like both of them have popped off and done incredibly well on both of these champions, and especially Defoe on all the champions he's played so far, he's been a real problem this split, right? He has a 7.9 KDA across 6 games. This guy has just been tearing up the Rift, and he's been playing super safe picks like the Malzahar, like the Inhibi, like the Xerath, but he's also been able to tear things up with the Victor, the LeBlanc, and the Lux, right? So regardless of what you give him, he can probably do very, very well using it. And so the bans, of course, reflect that, right, from the Sharks. But going into the picks, that's where it gets really good, because Jinx, number 1 AD carry in the world right now, besides Zeri, who, of course, is being banned out. All-around great pick, just super strong, able to get kills in any stage of the game if you pair her with the right ADC. And she really works well with any ADC, from Swain to Bard, Blitzcrank, you name it, she can work well with it, right? And we're gonna see maybe the Hammerheads respond with a Ziggs, which I think would be really nice here, actually.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Offers you that range and safety to sit back and just poke up in lane. Obviously, introduces some wrinkles in that you need to get your AD into the
Mhm.
draft in some other way, opting for that AP carry in the bot lane. I'd hope to see this paired with something that can roam, since one of its biggest strengths is being able to farm safely there. In terms
Absolutely.
of roaming supports, well, what do you feel like pairs best with the Ziggs here?
Um, it really depends because Vigar Feed can play a wide variety of roaming sports. He's played the Maokai. He's played, of course, Vigar. What I don't expect to see Vigar six in the bot lane. But he has played the Blitzcrank and the Leona, and so yeah, the Blitzcrank comes out right, and that's the exactly what you said, the perfect roaming support here. And I've said in the past that Blitzcrank really just throws wrinkles into any draft because no matter how perfect your draft is, if the enemy team has a Blitzcrank, all bets thrown out the window. Like you can have the perfect Viego, Jinx, Theory, any number of champions in this game to perfectly count any draft, but if they have a Blitzcrank, you're kind of just hopefully Blitzcrank just doesn't hit that lucky hook, right?
Yeah.
And I think Thresh can match, of course, the roam potential that Blitzcrank brings very well, but they can also use it really well with this Amumu pick to dive bot. So the Ziggs very much has to clear the wave on repeat, and if he gets behind, he's pretty much out of this game because if his main strength is the wave clear. Of course, Ziggs can go mid, but already with the Blitzcrank pick, you really wouldn't expect it mid.
Yeah, and it's definitely a apt point about the bot lane dives coming through. Thresh and Amumu offer you so much flexibility in terms of peel, engage, disengage, re-engage with those two bandage toss procs for Amumu. Definitely going to be a world of hurt for Ziggs if he can't get that wave cleared out in time, but that's real hype. That's the Ruined King himself coming through on R3 for the Hammerheads. They have come to play, and they have come with a big carry jungler. How do you feel about the matchup here, Viego, into Amumu?
I like it a lot because Mumu does have some tools to deal with them. He has the reduced, flat reduced damage. He likes auto attack champions into himself, but Viego just brings so much damage. And with his new tanky build, like his new tank Viego build that he has, he can stand toe to toe with Mumu and really trade quite heavily into him. Of course, he still has the Divine Thunder build, and of course, he still has, if he gets super far ahead, the crit build, right? So he still has some tools to stand toe to toe with Mumu. But I think the tank build is really where you would opt to be going into this Jinx. And like I said, they want to get him resets now, right? And they have more than enough bursts. They have the Blitzcrank, the Ziggs, and Viego ultimate. He just has to pop one person, no matter who gets pulled in, they're probably instantly going to die or get chunked out severely. So yeah, I like the Viego pick a lot. And if of course, it's a battle of resets now. It's Jinx gets reset first or Viego gets his reset first.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see if Jinx will have that space to free hit or if Viego's possession will carry him through. We are just finishing up the second phase of bans now. Akali and Twisted Fate taking off the board. Lots of mid lane carry priority in the draft so far. Gwen was the takeaway for the Sharks. Now ruminating for a little bit, thinking on the final ban, but it will be the Lux. How are we feeling about this second phase of bans? Maybe any of these power picks signature, or is this just more playing safely for comps, getting your ducks in a row for the meta? What's the story here with these takeaways?
So for the Gwyn ban, it's definitely a targeted towards the top lane of Hammerheads, right? Mafia is also doing very, very well in the in the KDA game, right? 3.9 for himself. And there's the Wukong. Interesting pickup, very interesting pickup because Wukong is strong enough to go into the mid lane depending on the matchup, but more than likely just a blind top. So what do you pick into Wukong? You have Poppy. If you just want that tank to stop his dashes, you can try to skill check it with the Camille. I find not Aatrox, but Riven does very well into it. Gragas, of course, is still a super strong power pick in the meta, so they have a lot of options, but they're gonna go with the Mundo.
I think that's very smart. It offers the self-peel capabilities with that CC immunity on the passive, can shrug off some Cyclones, and that's going to be the Victor locked in as well. This is so big in the meta right now. It's actually surprising to me that it made it all the way to B5.
Exactly.
I mean, this just gives them so much strength. They're scaling in their range. Late gamer, it's absolutely insane for the Sharks.
It really is. But you know what also kind of amazed me that made it through? The Corki as well, right? Corki is generally seen as the counterpick to Victor. But you can also, when you pick a Victor in the meta, you can also get counterpicked with an Enchanter mid, which we see all the time when watching C9, right? Like they love their Enchanter mids. So you have the Lulu, you have the Soraka, the Seraphine, the Sona. Like you have so many Enchanter mids you can pick into this Victor. It's kind of crazy. But more than likely, okay, so it is going to be the Ziggs going into the Victor. And they're trying to fight him at the the reason that you pick Victor, right? You pick Victor for wave clear.
Wave
So-
clear and range. Ziggs
yeah,
has those
wave
things
clear
in
and range.
spades. I
So,
I'm a bit confused about that choice to flex it, but maybe you can break it down a little bit for me. What might be going through their brains with that one?
if anything, I'm looking at the Viego. That's the only reason I would see to flex it, right? You see that they picked the Victor, right? So you know that most other mid laners that you pick into it isn't going to get priority like Ziggs has the potential to, right? Syndra is up, Orianna's up, common matchups we generally see, Corki is up, but none of them are going to get priority or pressure the Victor off like a Ziggs can. So it makes sense to me that they would choose to flex it here because you really want your Viego to get priority and look to, put some hurt on the Amumu early by taking camps or actively fighting with them. And with your semi-global ultimate that the Ziggs has access to pretty early on at level 6, he can affect those matchups and those fights in the jungle without directly being there. Kai'Sa there for long range engage when they're farming a bot side and there's a Drake fight. I like it overall, but I think I'd have to give it to the Sharks here because the amount of bulk to damage that they have is very, very good.
Yeah, definitely a very classically built team comp here in terms of equal parts early game. Maybe the weak point I could possibly see is the Hammerheads have the stronger early game, but Sharks having a little bit more of the handle on the scaling. But as you point out, I think both of these drafts are thoughtfully assembled. I can see sort of the idea behind both of them, especially for the Hammerheads, that Blitzcrank creates so much capability to disrupt game plans, introduce that element of chaos that you are usually looking for in terms of getting the other team off their, on their toes, off their feet, making them a little bit sweaty and, more apt to make mistakes in the game. So you have put it up here, though I think was your implication with your last statement that the Sharks have one draft overall, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think the Sharks have one draft overall because regardless of the Blitzcrank and the Viego, which I think are super strong and super good picks right now into the current team comp, I think the beefiness that's just brought forward by having an Amumu, Mundo, and the engage that they also bring is just too much for the Hammerheads right now. Unless something happens where Wukong gets super far ahead, or Viego gets super far ahead, or somehow Kai'Sa gets really far ahead. I think they have a lot of damage in their team, but that damage, it's very easily countered by items. Amumu loves to build items that do the most into Kai'Sa, right? Kai'Sa, I don't expect to see the what's it called, Kraken Slayer here. I don't think it's that good. I think she would benefit a lot more from having the Gale Force cleanse setup where she can Gale cleanse the Amumu ult, Gale Force out of it, and then she can still continue to do TPS. But we'll have to see. If she gets super far ahead, of course, in the bot lane off of early kills, then definitely she can do something.
I will ask just briefly, since our pre-show did run over and we didn't have a chance to cover it. We did, of course, make our predictions before the game. It's a little bit different now as we do have the angle of having seen the draft play out and see how each of these teams will be playing through. Regardless of who has won the draft per se, who do you think is going to be taking home the game here? Because beforehand, I think I would have been a bit more apt to say the Hammerheads, just based on strength of the record. But I think I'm going to change it up. I think I'm going with the Sharks here after this draft.
That's very fair. I think personally I'm going to be going with the Hammerheads for this one. Regardless, like I said, Blitzcrank is just that one champion who I always can never seem to bet against because either they're a great Blitzcrank and they smurf everything, or they're a horrible Blitzcrank and they miss all their hooks. But either way, until we see them in game, Blitzcrank is always going to be that huge plus for me, and I'm going to have to vote for the Hammerheads on this one.
All right, and on the other side of a quick spectator delay break, we will see exactly how it all plays out, who will be taking it home in the battle for ocean supremacy here between the Sharks and the Hammerheads. Who is the apex predator? We'll see right on the other side of the break, so stay tuned. All right, everyone, here we are loaded in for our first game of the night. It's the Sharks versus the Hammerheads, going to be butting those heads for the underwater. Oh my goodness, we actually have 10 men mid. I don't have time as the death sentence will land. The glacial augment across multiple members, but the bomb in return. Nothing doing off of it, Arlen, but these teams are ready and raring to go. Kaisa spamming the dance there just to demonstrate it further. I mean, what a great matchup we have on our hands here in store for us tonight.
Ooh, and already the first, the first ward going over to Nairo and squad. That's actually going to be a huge boost in the bot lane for them. Getting, level 2 just one CS earlier is going to be very, very nice for them. That's something we're going to have to keep a watch out for if Vigar and Spectral take advantage or respect that.
Yeah, definitely. Even those little advantages can play up so big. Not going to have to fight as hard for the push priority, knowing they have that quicker level 2. In terms of the early game around that bot lane, you'd expect it, I believe, to be Spectral and Vigar sort of leading the way, but definitely a nice little equalization there, as you do point out, as it will be the blue buff start for Viego, going to be clearing bot top, mirrored by the Amumu. He's going top to bot. So we should be seeing some early action one way or the other that can't be answered by the other jungler. Definitely going to be very exciting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And you pointed out 100%, right? Like that just shows like what each team are going for, right? As we see an early hook land on the Vigar.
But now it's the return hook.
Trade it back.
Yeah, that's just the cheeky. That's what I think what we can expect from this game here, Arlen. I mean,
right.
These teams are so ready to go at it. It's tit for tat. It's hook for hook. But yeah, just definitely a wild one.
But yeah, it shows like what each team is focused on, right? You see Mafia up top with the Ignite on Wukong, no flash in sight for him. And with the Viego pathing top, you expect resources to be shoved into this Wukong, try to get him as far ahead as possible. And then otherwise, you see them shoving resources into this Jinx, trying to get her as ahead as possible. And it's just showing the different values of the team. One wants to end quickly, and the other one wants to end later.
Yeah, Blitzcrank going to be landing the hook there. Thresh having to play and flash away from the Ignite of Vigar or Feed. So the first advantage, the first tally mark down on the board for Blitzcrank and Kaisa, going to be trading that Ignite for that flash every time.
100%. And one thing I just want to highlight is that Ivern, this win, and Nairo, they did get a level 2 first, but they were too passive. They were too respecting of Spectral and Vigar. They didn't make anything of it, right? They just let them get level 2 as well, and then they were able to walk up, get the hook, and trade the flash on the Nairo. So they have to be very a lot more careful in this lane. They can't be trading hooks willy-nilly like they have been.
Yeah, definitely the case. As we saw, the Acathian Rain just going to earn a little bit of damage. And now, once again, it's the level 3 with the wave pushing forward. But Jinx and Thresh just continuing to play very respectful.
So smart.
I mean, Thresh is sniffing for it as... Did a Mumu... Oh, here comes Viego, though. Before I have time to comment, Victor's flash going to be forced out. That red buff burned down. The bomb backwards. The satchel charge, rather, is the knockup. Is now the zap going to go wide, but Thresh and a Mumu behind the Kaisa. Does she have any angle? She doesn't have the Thresh. She has the Blitzcrank. That's no positive peel, but the hook under the turret. Now Kaisa going to be taken ever so low. The exhaust is down. Thresh will survive, and the first blood goes over to Ivern this win.
I was gonna say it was so very smart from Spectral and Vigar, but then they messed it up a little bit, right? They had the wave pushing into him. They knew the Amumu was bot side. They respected it, and they were respecting it. They were gonna let the wave push into under the turret, and they could just froze it, right? It would have been so very good for them. As we see Defoe get really low, taking so much minion damage there, but he's gonna heal back up with a pot. But either way, but they had such a good idea in my bot lane, and then they just kind of messed it up by being too aggressive, by trading in the wave, and Spectral didn't even get a chance to use his cleanse, just got flayed back in and died.
Yeah, and it was a smart bit of pathing there from Mike's Revenge, finding that exact window he needed to turn things on a dime down in that bot lane. So now it is the slight gold advantage, about 600 or 700 to the side of the Sharks here, and that's pretty significant in this early lane. The individual gold in lead most pronounced on that first blood recipient, and I've earned this win, up about 400 over his lane opponent. So definitely going to be good doings for the side of the Sharks. And now the pings are coming out around the Dragon. It's lots of vision, the Scuttle Relic for the Sharks, but the Pink Ward and the Stealth Ward down for the Hammerheads. And we're seeing the wrestling for position, the tug of war around the vision as the next Scuttle comes up. And this could be the focal point of a fight here, Arlen.
Absolutely. I imagine it would be because, both teams need damage. One needs damage because, they're a damaging team, right? They have the Wukong, they have the Viego. They just like damage in general. And the other team needs damage because they're a team of tanks with a Jinx and a Victor. They need the damage one way or another. And, this early Infernal is just always a good source of scaling damage throughout the rest of the game. That 4% extra AP and AD is just going to be super, super nice no matter who gets it.
Yeah, definitely the case. And it goes back to what we were discussing in draft, right, about the priorities here shown by each team. The Hammerheads playing for more of that early game snowball style, but losing out in that bot lane, as we see Sharky just having a cheeky Raptor steal away there from Mike's Revenge. But yeah, that play in the bot lane not going to the Hammerheads' benefit has really sort of set back, a comp on a clock, as we do see the Thresh taking a little bit of bite back from the Kaisa, and now the team with the better scaling and the scaling hyper carry has that gold exactly where they want it and has managed to stem the bleeding and weather the tides rather here in the early game. But now it's Victor finding a nice bit of escort on an escape for himself, getting that gravity well exactly down where he needed it. Now Viego not going to be able to connect. Blitzcrank running forward. Vigar was fishing for a hook there. Wanted to recover the play, but not going to manage to do it. And now it's Thresh who finds the death sentence over the wall, but just doesn't have the follow-up capability of the Blitzcrank there. Did not want to take the second proc, jump into the unknown abyss. And at the end of the day, that's all the vision control around that Dragon Pit now, Arlen, for the side of Hammerheads. So at least coming away the winners in terms of the positioning, even though they didn't blow any some of their spells.
Yeah, just one thing I want to highlight is the jungle XP, right? Like, looking at the Viego, he did get the cheeky little invade on Amumu, but even then he was down a level when he did it. And that's just not a good thing when you're invading like that. You want to be having you want to get something out of it, and that gives you the XP advantage. As we watch Vigar get hit by a traps and the Kaisa as well, but they still manage to land the hook.
Yeah, he brings the Thresh right back in, and now it's Viego, though, who's snared up, but he has the Possess to get out of that second bandage toss, but the Flay not going to be enough to escort him out, and now it's Blitzcrank being taken low, going to have to flash back. Amumu, no mana, though, couldn't find more lockup onto the Kaisa, so that's going to be the 1-for-1, and in the end, I think you're absolutely happy with that as the Sharks to take down the jungler at the expense of your support, especially with better scaling.
Absolutely, you love to do that all the time, 100% of the time, and it just goes to show that right now Mike's Revenge just has Sharky kind of red. Like, even though he got the cheeky little invade off, he didn't get enough of it to get equalize the levels. So, Mike's Revenge will eventually hit level 6, level 7 before Sharky here. Although Sharky does have these 4 or 5 camps up, so he can quite easily hit that as well. So he does hit it first, barely though. And I imagine that Mike just has, he has the way to accelerate it so much more with this extra kill.
Yeah, definitely the case. Having that Bomby Cinder going to be upping his clear capability big time in the jungle, as he is ever so close to level 6. Just needs one more camp to take over. But now it's Wukong finding the Cyclone. Undo CC immunity doing some for him. Now the ult trying to find the regen, but it's not enough. The Ignite cutting the heal. Mafia now finding that kill. Not quite the solo bolo, but close enough. And that's exactly what you need as the Hammerheads here if you're trying to make this early game snowball comp work. Can't let this game get too far away from you. Need to pick up the pace a little bit. But now it's Amumu flashing right over the wall. Curse of the Sad Mummy under turret. He has another bandage toss under his belt, waiting for that clone to be used. The playful tricks are going to take Wukong away.
Dodged
Not
it.
going to land, though, the second bandage toss. Viego has come all the way around now. It's the flanker who becomes the flankee, the knock up, the glacial augment, the heartbreaker, the pull back. Amumu taken out. Mafia finding his second kill as he managed to buy so much time there, Arlen.
Oh man, that's just Mafia right there, styling on the Amumu, using everything in his kit to get out there, and that was just, Mike's Revenge almost had the kill, but he didn't hit the second bandage shot. If he had, that would have been huge, but we're gonna see Naira walk down Spectral here. He still has cleanse.
Yeah,
those traps.
Those traps are so well placed from the Jinx, who now has the lethal tempo stacked up and will find the zap to finish it off. And now it's 2v1. Thresh hiding in the bush. The satchel charge going to knock Jinx a little back, but she's still free firing. The damage is there to take out Nairo, but can Jinx find the conversion? No, the minion blocks the zap, but she has the increased range. One more rocket will do it, but now the pull back, and she will die under the turret. Vigar finding the equalization at the end of the play, but at the end of the day, it's still the majority of the kills to the Hammerheads, and now Viego, the action never stops.
No, Sharky.
Oh, he's fighting over this Scuttle Crab. He's going to have to take the L on this one, though, and back it out, as he just did not have the numbers he needed to get that crab and, you know, crack it open and get that vision for himself around the dragon.
Yeah, right there, that was just a really rough play from the Hammerheads, right? Like, you knew that all your resources were top. Despite, you know, everyone backing at that moment, you still knew that your resources were devoted top, so they wanted to look for something on the other side of the map. So Spectral just getting caught out there, not using the cleanse early enough. Like, they dashed right into the traps, they had the shield, but they just didn't cleanse the traps immediately, and that's just not something you can do, especially when you have the cleanse available. It's such a versatile summoner spell, and it's great into a Thresh Jinx, but not using it is just really, really bad right there. So yeah, right now, this play totally went in favor of the Jinx and Ivern this win. Like, his team is just in a position, even with the 2 kills going over on top side to the Wukong, they are such in a position to kite out this Wukong. They have so much beef that stands between him and the Jinx. It's going to be really, really rough for them to bring this back if the Hammerheads are playing with this kind of macro.
Absolutely. It's definitely as you say, and I think one of the rougher areas of importance around all that trading back and forth is in the bot lane fracas. It's the Blitzcrank who's so often been the recipient of the gold instead of the Kai'Sa. Oh my goodness gracious, she seals it! And now they find the engage as well. The Super Mega Inferno Bomb going to take Thresh low, but he has the clutch stopwatch. It won't save his life, though, as he was in the midst of too many members. But you'll absolutely take that, as Jinx is just popping off. The hero of this game, for sure, is I've earned this win so far, as he is just getting what his counterpart cannot, finding all the advantage in these plays. And now Mumu taking the bandage toss, finding the curse. Now the cleanse, but is it too little too late here? Kai'Sa continuing to tick down, trying to play with the fancy feet, trying to get a Mumu, but Mike's Revenge will find another one, and the Sharks just keep finding these advantages.
Oh man, Hammerheads, what are you doing, guys? You didn't have your Kai'Sa for the extra DPS. Alice Galphanaxis gets his flash blown there, but you just didn't have your Kai'Sa there for the extra DPS. You didn't have priority in the bot lane, so they were able to walk up and just kind of do that. You had to be careful of Mike's Revenge, but you weren't watching on the other side. Jinx is notorious for stealing Drakes. As Vigar feed flashes over, looking for the kill.
Yeah, I mean, that was really aggressive coming out from him. He's continuing to chase down. The exhaust is out from Jinx. Can she actually peel herself all the way? Viego taking that W forward, trying to get this miss down, trying to chase it out, but he might have overstepped his boundaries. Hoisted by his own petard, and he will fall. Mike's Revenge jungle diffing it through and through here 12 minutes into this game.
Oh, what are they doing? Hammerheads, it's looking like Vigar feed is going to be dying too. The Jinx rocket goes wide, and the auto cacks come out. Nairo taking that kill for himself.
Thresh
what are you
getting
guys
in.
doing?
Thresh getting in on the support kill party there. You know, he says to Vigar, anything you can do, I can do better. I can take the gold away too with that big attack. But yeah, it's definitely painful to see from the Hammerheads. As you point out, it kind of feels like desperation, knowing that they needed to get this comp accelerated early to have a chance of victory in this one. And they just keep, you know, overstepping their boundaries and overforcing. As you point out, it's really not a good look for them to force so hard and then take the L, you know, in the overall trade on these plays. So definitely looking a bit rough for them. I mean, the gold lead isn't super substantial, but even 1K at 13 minutes can be scary when the enemy team just scales so hard.
Especially when the first mythics that are coming out, you know, are such strong mythics. The Gale Force, the Locket of the Iron Solari, and Sunfire Aegis here all coming out as Mafia goes in. And again, we see Vigar V2 roaming up here onto the Mundo.
Yeah, now he has that ultimate regeneration coming out. The Blitzcrank Glacial Augment doing a lot of work there, reducing the damage back onto Wukong, as we see the Thornmail and the Balmy Cinder combo actually doing enough to make this sort of a tilted 1v1 in favor of Nap Quan when it is just that, you know, top laner honorable bout to the death. It was the Blitzcrank who had to come up and turn that one, but now maybe the pick, the Mega Inferno Bomb, not going to connect as the flash is still there, but ultimately it will be picked up, of course. as that is going to be the kill, and it will be a fat shutdown as well for Ziggs, who holds most of the gold here on the side of the Hammerheads, up to about 6k of individual gold. So if anybody's going to carry you through here, it's going to be Ziggs. But before we have the chance to even ruminate on it, it's Ziggs under the Chaos Storm. Is he going to be taken out? No, the Satchel Charge was so good to peel out, but now it's Thresh who will fall, or rather Blitzcrank in return. Nairo picking up another one for himself, but it just never ends here, Arlen. Diego coming through as well. But at the end of the day, it is the just the Blitzcrank who's going to fall as a result of that.
Yeah, right there. It's just so many plays back to back to back, and they're doing to their game plan. To their credit for the Hammerheads, they're playing to their game plan, right? They're playing towards the top side of the map, and Mike's Revenge was totally inting there, right? Just you cannot start the Rift Herald up when you know that their Blitzcrank had just ganked your top laner, right? Like, you don't have any pressure up there. Your mid laner's in mid lane. You don't see theirs. You don't know where their Blitzcrank is at the current moment. So walking up there trying to start the Rift Herald is super, super bad macro there. But then they kind of make it better by walking up there, trying to look too aggressive on Galifianaxis. They almost got the kill. But, Galifianaxis still had the Chaos Storm, still is Victor at the end of the day. So tons of damage ready to come out here. Yeah, it's just very overall smart play from the Sharks to respond to the too much aggression from the Hammerheads.
Yeah, as we saw that Napquan was holding a freeze to try and pressure the Amumu, but it's just going to wind up resulting in his own death as he went to the Rift Herald with no priority. His top laner couldn't move first. He was holding the freeze, and so he was just snared up and surrounded, and now it could be Jinx who falls as well. The zap will slow down Blitzcrank, but can you get away from the big metal claw? Rift Herald going to continue to be bunched down after it did reset. Thresh not wanting any part of that one against the Hammerheads. I mean, this is just such a fiesta, as now it's the Blitzcrank running all the way up the river, abandoning the Jinx. The Rift Herald is going to go over here, and Viego continuing to press forward. I don't think that was a forward move you wanted to take at all, as now Mundo landing these infected bone saws, but no punish coming out. The Hammerheads do somehow make their way away with that objective and get that empowered recall off for Sharky. But man, it's nonstop. And I want to point out here, Arlen, it's the Bobby Cinder coming out for the Blitzcrank. Could this be Chemtank maybe to run these carries down and try and hook them in? As we've seen, that's been the genesis of so much of the success for Hammerheads in this game.
Absolutely, and I love the idea that he's taking, the Turbo Chemtank here. It's so good into this Jinx, especially when Jinx has the Gale Force, right? You want this Jinx to only be using this Gale Force defensively and never offensively, because if it's being used offensively, someone's probably going to be dead, and she's probably going to be she's going to get her reset, and it's just not a good situation. One thing I quickly, want to highlight is the fact that Jinx has Gale Force. Generally, when you see Gale Force on one ADC, you want it mirrored by another ADC. So generally, Aphelios Gale Force, Caitlyn Gale Force, Jinx Gale Force, all the mainstays of ADC right now. The fact that Kai'Sa doesn't look to be going for that and more of a, I'm not quite sure, maybe an Eclipse or Duskblade angle, that seems really yikes, in my opinion.
As now the Amumu going to land that bench toss over the wall. Sharky has been chunked out a little bit, but he has the backup. Vigar is here forcing out the defensive curse of the Sad Mummy, but it will result in the kill. Viego now taking that Amumu away. Sharky trying to force Galifianakis under the turret. He has the backup coming. Mafia taking the blast cone. Oh, that Victor is maybe not dead, as the gravity well self-peel was amazing, and now the Chaos Storm as well to find the last ticks of damage. The rocket not even needed, as Victor shuts down Victor, as is definitely a thing that we should say about 2022 League of Legends. Just lets you know where we're at here, but definitely a bit of a misplay there. Can it be punished? Ivern is up here, but I don't know. Thresh throwing the lantern out, but it's not doing. It just goes back to, the PowerPoints on this map. In terms of where the Sharks want to play through. Not really going to be taking uncontested wins without their bot lane around, but still, just enough of a position where they can go 1-for-1 in a 4v1 situation like that bodes very well for them.
Yeah, and honestly, if I'm the coach of the squad, for the Sharks, I'm looking at Mike's Revenge. I'm kind of just like, what are you doing? He keeps walking into places where he doesn't have priority, just all over the map, top side, bot side. You don't have priority to be there. You're not allowed to be there. And it looks like Spectral is going to get flayed back in.
Yeah, he did
the
have
teleport
that.
Did come out as well from Defoe.
Yeah, and now it's the flank getting flanked as well as the chase out continuing to come through. But it's a double TP. Victor and Mundo
They weren't ready for that.
Yeah, the cavalry does arrive as Jinx has now gotten well and truly excited. Picks up another one due the side of the Sharks, going to push out this wave. No dragon left to claim as that one was already taken off the board by them. But a very nice 2-for-0 coming out, despite being the ones caught with their pants down at first, so it seemed. Now Blitzcrank just trying to ult for the wave clear, but he can't save his turret. Jinx continuing to find the rundown. The grab comes out, but do you have the damage to make good on that promise? As Kaisa is so late to return, does get that Acathian Rain out, but the exhaust, it's actually going to turn into the 1-for-1. It'll be a shutdown for Spectral. That was so funny. Jinx just walks up in her face, reduces her damage, and continues to free fire.
Yeah, that feels nice. But that feels super nice for the Kaiser, right? Like they get that massive shutdown onto themselves, and they're able to, boost what they're going for. They're going for the Mana Mune build on Kaiser. Not too bad, but not overall the effect you want in this game. But either way, that still feels very nice for the Kaiser. Able to get some gold back into their pocket, even though nothing really came of it. But yeah, again, Mike's Revenge just in places that he isn't allowed to be in.
Woo woo, that's illegal.
Absolutely illegal. So just looking forward as this game is the 20-minute mark. What are our win cons for each side? Well, we're gonna see Mafia ult in onto Napquan here. He pops the ultimate trying to get out, but that's gonna be the flash devoted. And Vygar or Feed misses the hook.
Yeah, Mundo oh so safe with that summoner spell and that regen up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you were looking at the win conditions. Can you tell us, at this point,
Very
with the scaling
quickly,
going so well for Sharks, like what is left in terms of win conditions in heading into the late game for Hammerheads?
All right, so Hammerheads, it's number one, stop being as aggressive. Slow down your pressure, slow down your temper yourself, right? You don't want to be so aggressive because every time they're over aggressive, they keep losing these plays, they keep dying on repeat, and they keep giving over multiple shutdowns. For the Sharks, temper Mike's Revenge a little bit, bring him back into the fold, make sure he's safe and he's not doing anything a little bit silly as the Gale Force comes out and Defoe manages to flash away from the rocket. Very nice, but they're still going to pick up that turret off the backside.
I'm not sure if Ziggs needed to flash there, but better safe than sorry when you're the big carry potential for your team at this point in time.
Absolutely. Mike's Revenge. This time it's not illegal. He has his friends with him.
Yeah, that's the double curse of the Sad Mummy. It's already one taken over, but it's just in time to get down here for this Drake. Going to pick up the Cloud Drake for themselves. You have to feel our Sharks. I mean, Hammerheads don't want to give this one up. It is Soul Point, but the death sentence is good. Wukong, can he use that kit to get himself out? No, he will fall. It is the trade back onto the jungler, but Chaos Storm doing so much work. Nairo now on a killing spree as the Thresh. Kaisa not doing much of anything as she's going to fall next. That final death sentence not going to connect, but it's not really needed at this point as it's Ziggs versus the world. Mundo is here to be a big, beefy man and auto this thing down, and that will be the Cloud Soul Point brought through for the Sharks.
Absolutely, and right there, Ivor in this win could have had something amazing pop off right there, but walked through the Ziggs bombs. Just something that's hard to keep track of in a chaotic team fight, but even still something you have to keep track of nonetheless. But yeah, right there, it was honestly kind of troll, to contest that Drake. Your jungler had just gotten picked out from the Hammerheads. You can't contest that. Your jungler had just gotten picked out. Your Blitzcrank had just missed the hook. You have to run, and you're split. Two people on either side. You have to give it up. You have to say, okay, we're gonna try for something else. We're gonna go for a turret, and the top side, we're gonna look in them. At the Baron, we can threaten Baron a little bit. Try to drag them off of this Drake. But at the end of the day, it's just a Cloud Soul, right? It's not too impactful for either team, really. I say the only person that would love it is the Mundo. Mundo and Wukong, they're the only people that really love this Cloud Drake in this game. So, not really too much to talk about as a death or another hook from the Blitzcrank does land.
Yeah, Thresh having the Flay available, though, can be such a useful defensive tool, as the vision is a nice blue ocean across this top side around this Baron. And just, checking in on some of the points that we've come back to again and again in this game. The Kaisa build, I'm happy with. At first, I was a little bit confused, like you were. She actually does not nail force the hook. Oh my goodness, a big blunder coming out from Ivor. And could this be the team fight victory in the long run, as the Jinx was stolen by the Viego? Now it's Victor who has to run for the hills. He has that Crown of the Shadowed Queen to protect the burst, but if he gets pulled in, no, it's Vygar who's gotten too high. If Galifianak is going to pick it up, and he is just unstoppable right now on this Victor.
Yeah, speaking of builds, that's one major issue with him rushing. Not even the Turbo Kim tank, instead going for the Frozen Fist. But either way, that's one of the major issues. It took so long for him just now to get his Mythic on, Vygar feed. If he had gone for this Iron Lock of the Solar, he could have had that extra shield to, maybe survive their burst. And I think that's something you definitely want, because that's one thing tank teams have in spades, right? They have lots of bursts. And if you survive their initial burst, you are sitting pretty. They can't hurt you anymore. They don't win the long extended fights like you would, right? You have Mafia, you have Sharky, both on champions that love those long extended fights. They're both building for it. Already completed the Sterix gauge on Sharky. So yeah, like I said, it's right now the key to their downfall from the Hammerheads is the fact that they like to take super aggressive fights and plays. And I just don't think they can do that into a team such as the Sharks, that they always seem to be ready with an answer for most of these plays, right? They're just ready to turn it around with a Death Sentence, Mike's Revenge going in with the ultimate, Jinx and Victor, Galvanaxis off the Victor, ready to turn around with a surprising amount of damage, or Napquan just walking away from their damage entirely. The Hammerheads have to be more passive, a little bit more passive, temper themselves just a little bit, and go for plays that they know are 100% guaranteed.
Yeah, got to look for those high percentage, low risk plays to get yourself back into this game. 2.5K, and not the end all be all of gold leads, but when you look at that win soul point, when you look at the scaling, factors on the side of the Sharks and the way they'll be able to play this late game, definitely a scary proposition. Going to have to try and find some equalization, as you say. Something I've wanted to go back to again and again, we finally have a lull state to sort of break down this game in detail, is I was a bit worried, as you were, as well earlier, when I saw that the Kai'Sa was sitting on the Serrated Dirk and the Caulfield's Warhammer. I thought she was going for a pure lethality build, which I have not really seen, although just as I finally get into it, Blitzcrank maybe making some more illegal plays. I mean, that is just the end of Vygar there. He went too far forward to try and secure vision for his team, and he wound up paying for it. And now his team
on the backside. And wait, how did Sparky pick up Ivern? Wait a second.
Yeah, I actually didn't see that one come through either, as now this might actually just be the team fight win for the Hammerheads. The Chaos Storm is doing work for Galvanaxis, has the flash still left available, waiting on cooldowns. Can he outplay this? No, the gravity well not going to be enough. Thresh oh so low. Nairo playing on a knife's edge there. I mean, this is Baron, perhaps. I mean, I don't know if they have the DPS for it quite yet.
I don't think it's Baron. I definitely don't think it's Baron. Napcon can definitely walk in there, especially with Nairo. They can definitely delay long enough for their team to show up, even with Mafia having
no way, no shot.
And she has ultimate, so definitely they can win that fight if Baron were to be started. But
did he equalize gold a bit?
Not quite sure how Ivern died there. That's really bad, and that made the play that followed afterward. At Nairo, Galvanaxis, and Mike's Revenge walking into the mid lane even more of an in play, right? Like you can't walk in there if you know your Jinx just died. 3v1. You gotta play safe. You gotta walk away. You can't take the fight on those kind of terms.
Yeah, definitely the case. They were the first to the Drake, were the Hammerheads, but they might also be the first to die as Blitzcrank getting burst out. And look at the Wukong. He gets that dragon through. Mafia doing his job, just having to pay his support's life to do it, assuming the walkout does happen. But no, Viego, why are you so concerned with always going forward? Thankfully, he will survive. But that could have been such a big throw off the back of an uncontested win play for you. You trade your support for the Drake. That's worth. Now back it up, spend your gold, sit on your advantage and look for the next play. There's no need to always be running forward. But in the end, I don't want to harp on it. They did the right thing. And they got their advantage for themselves, Arlen. They did what they needed to do.
100%. Even if they're down about 1,000 gold, they do. They finally got the first Drake under the belt, and that has to feel very, very nice. But one thing I just wanted to highlight is that Mike's Revenge and squad, they saw the Drake was being taken instantly. They got the support pickup. They could have run immediately to the Baron instead of chasing after extra kills, chasing after Sharky. They could have run immediately to the Baron and started up once they knew that Sharky was so very low, right? He had to reset. The rest of his team had to reset. They couldn't take the fight at Drake. Why? What made you think they could take the fight if you had started Baron there? just things to think about. You know, a lost opportunity that, you know, again, their coach might, you know, come back in VOD review and point things out like that. Like, you know, we had a chance here, maybe an opportunity at least to bait out Mafia's teleport, and that would have been, you know, something very nice. But again, we're talking about the Kai'Sa build. Not sure if I like it. Your team already, your team needs your DPS, your range DPS, your crits to come through on the scenario, right? Sharky and Mafia, they are great for melee, but they're never going to touch the Jinx. You're the only one who can threaten the Jinx and Galifianakis on this Victor here. You know,
the advantage of this build is the DPS is actually fairly high with the Nashor's Tooth rune crown of the Shattered Queen. There we go. Wanted to call it the crown of the Ruined King, but that's what Sharky will be wearing, of course. Yeah, no, the DPS is fairly high on this guy.
Ooh, they hit it onto Galifianakis.
Yeah, that's Victor ticking oh so low, but the locket and the stopwatch being used, but he cannot escape the zigs, and now could be the clean sweep coming through for the Hammerheads. They actually done this as Mundo seems to have TP'd right through his doom, having to pop that ultimate just to try and get away, but now maybe the over-aggression as it's a wombo combo. Oh, Amumu, he turned that right around. Blitzcrank, maybe you didn't want to hit that hook as it's now the double kill, and I've earned this win, finding the last one there. Sharky, the last man standing. Could this be the end angle or perhaps the Baron? No, I think it'll just be some inhibitors here with the death timers being what they are, but man, that was so close, so back and forth, but in the end, it is the Sharks who come out on top.
It does look like they will be starting the Baron here the way they're walking, but I love it. I love it so much from, you know, either side. They saw the angle in the Galifianakis, they took the kill, they were starting to run down, they ran down Nairo, but that's where I think they should have stopped. They should have realized that they couldn't get too much more. Mike's Revenge was about to join the fight. They have to realize they have so many auto attackers, so many close range people that get, you know, beat up by this Mumu. As Sharky's looking for the steal here.
Oh my god, he got it!
No attack!
He flashed the wall and found the smite. How many members were alive when he did find it, however? Did he... How many members were on the map when he found it? How many Barons do they have? That's the ultimate question. But
they have two. They have two onto Mafia and onto the Blitzcrank.
Wow, that is such a big play coming through, and I think it is, as you point out. I thought he had gotten the smite steal, but I think what it was is it had about 50 HP remaining, and it was Sharky's auto attacker, perhaps his Q, that actually found it there. So what a well-executed Baron steal coming through from Sharky, and that just keeps them in this game, you know, even longer here. I mean, that's just big hero plays. That's what you love to see. That is what you expect from two of the top teams in the draft league. And I mean, this has just been such a great game so far. And now it is finally the Mythic complete for Spectral as well. So hopefully going to have more influence on these fights moving forward. It really feels like anybody's game with these wins that Hammerheads are continuing to find.
And now they're walking into area that isn't exactly their own, you know, walking into a lot of vision actually from the side of the Sharks, but they're starting to clear it out and they're bringing down Vygar and Mafia now as Mike's Revenge finds the Q. I don't think you want to take that, buddy.
Yeah, no, he went right to his death. That's going to make him one real sad mummy as the death sentence point blank finds absolutely nothing. It'll be Thresh to fall next. Sharky picking it up. The Rocket going to try and dissuade some of the follow-up. Jinx taken out though, right in the epicenter. The bomb just absolutely deletes her now. It's the 2v4. Victor and Mundo headed for the hills. The knockup's coming through. The regen so strong, it's not going to result in a pick. So perhaps that Cyclone used a bit early, but Defoe still has the TP to rejoin this battle. Can the long-range poke from the Victor, can the lasers over the wall be what turns this? They have no jungler, they have no smite, and they will have no dragon as it goes over to the Hammerheads there. And I mean, they are just defying all my expectations about how I thought this late game would turn out. The scaling advantage means nothing when your Jinx gets picked early in the fight because she can't free fire and she can't turn these engagements around.
Absolutely, and right there, it's a symptom of both of these teams, I would have to say. Right there, the Jinx didn't have Gale Force. Why? To pick up a kill onto the Kai'Sa. It's just over-aggression from both teams. The first team to realize that they're over-aggressing, that they're doing illegal things, is going to be the team to win, because they're going to start playing safer, they're going to start playing smarter in terms of macro, and they're going to stop, you know, taking bad fights, doing bad ideas, trying to get more kills for their KDA, right? If the Jinx had just held on to the Gale Force, they would have had the Gale Force up to dodge away from Defoe's bomb. But again, you know, Defoe, super smart play to recognize that the Jinx didn't have Gale Force. She couldn't get away from my bomb, and she dies for it. But yeah, a lot of AP coming out from the side of the Hammerheads into a Mundo. That seems really, really rough, you know, trying to do something to this Mundo. Granted, you do have the Wukong to deal with armor, a little bit of armor shred from him. You do have Sharky, a little bit of damage coming through from him, but really this AP in the Kaisa and in Defoe, it's gonna be a little bit scuffed for them. Trying to hurt this Mundo, trying to cut through him in some way that really is gonna be meaningful.
Yeah, as now we see Thresh, the Blast Cone.
Nairo.
It was not the correct angle on the Blast Cone. It forces the flash, and I feel like the story of this game has really been, you know, these two supports, Nairo and Vigar, both at times overextending in hopes of forcing plays or in hopes of clearing out vision uncontested, and then they get punished for it. And, you know, for the side of the Sharks, that's especially problematic because you need Nairo to peel Jinx in the fights. And if he's the one getting caught out first, if he can't use those defensive tools to, you know, make space for the Jinx, if he has to use them for himself, or if he's not around to use them, then your team fight plan really can't play out the way you draw it up. And as you point out as well, going back to the AP stacking, you know, Mundo sitting now on Force of Nature, Spirit Visage, going to be, you know, shrugging that off, you know, all those AP poke sort of attacks very well. So definitely a beefy boy in these fights. It's on a knife's edge. It could go either way at this point.
Ooh, looking at a Death Bush. Shark is
Yeah.
coming up, looking for Naquan. They pop the spell shield. They get the hook.
Yeah, that could be Mundo falling down. The regen, is it going to be enough? No, the flash over the wall was just a bit of a waste, but that Leandry's percent health burn, the spell pen off the Void Staff right through the tanks like butter. They melted, and now it's Kaisa continuing to move. And now it's the 2-for-2 at this point. Victor's still here, and he has so many defensive tools. The Banshee's Veil, the Zonia's Hourglass, the Crown of the Shattered Queen to try and find the outplay potential. Tom's not going to connect yet, has that double shielding coming out. Will try and clear the wave, but will still have to give up his turret. I mean, this one just goes later and later. The objectives are starting to fall now. These tier 2s worth so much gold, and at this point, after a long run of map domination, the Sharks are starting to lose their bearings on the map compared to the Hammerheads. They've really played around their win conditions with the Ziggs so well now, picking up that standing gold on the map. And I mean, I just can't emphasize enough how much this game is in a back and forth, anything goes state this late in.
Absolutely, and right there, you saw how the fight turned. Sharky and Spectral going too deep, looking for the hero's place, trying to do something that they shouldn't do. They know they shouldn't be doing it, and yet they're still trying to do these things. Sharky, instead of going for the easy kill on an Napcon, instead of ulting him with the Heartbreaker, ulted past him, trying to get onto, you know, Ivor in this win, trying to get onto Mike's Revenge, and missed the Napcon, didn't hit him right there, and that's going to be Nairo wasting the heal, trying to get himself safe, and it does work out. And then Spectral ulting in the middle of like 4 people and dropping for it. That is not what you want to be doing when you're, you know, two primary damage dealers on your team.
Yeah, definitely so. As that, you know, I feel like that's so reflective of the story of this game. Thresh having to burn resources there, you know, just because he wanted to find some sort of aggressive forward play, when really he should be playing Peeler for his Jinx. And now they're opting towards this fight over this Cloud Drake. It looks like it's not up for another 20 seconds. I would love to see them just move towards the Baron here. You absolutely melt it with Victor and Jinx. Instead, they're trying to fight from a position where they weren't first to the play here, and they're just getting chunked out by the poke. The Kaisa W's, the Ziggs Q's, they're hitting over the wall, and they're putting them at a disadvantage before the fight even starts. Please, just go take Baron. Why are you fighting for a win, Drake?
You can't fight this. They have too much poke. They have too much range on you. Just fight. Go for Baron. Go for the mid turret. You have so much in terms of macro options. You can't be trying to contest this, especially with Galifianakis on the top side of the fight. He's missing from the rest of the team as they walk in here.
Yeah, he was isolated, never had a chance to get his team, and now they opt for it on the back half. And it's just Mike's Revenge taken out so early, and now it's going to be the carries pulled in. Defoe's on a killing spree. Mundo does not have enough juice left in the tank. That is the 4 for nothing, and it should be the Baron as well. Now the TP just to make sure that the Thresh can't get away. That's a bit of overkill, but maybe you can split members here, send some to the Baron and break the base. Are they just going for the straight end angle here? I don't know if they have the base cracked enough. I mean, Ziggs does melt the turrets.
You definitely
They might have it. I mean, the death timers are long. It's 30 seconds on that double carry combo, Galifianakis and Ivern. This could just be it for the Hammerheads.
think it is. They're going for the end goal. They're definitely going to be able to crack this Nexus turrets here using Defoe.
Yeah,
That's
so
what's
smart.
on the Ziggs.
Tanking the turret so that the wave does not get cut, so that backdoor protection doesn't come in, and that will be the game. Hammerheads take it home here in our first game of the night. They defend their undefeated status here, Arlen, and show themselves to be the better team overall.
That was absolutely insanity.
That was something else.
Oh my god.
That was a game of League of Legends.
Oh, that could be that could be called a game of League of Legends. I was losing my mind in the chat. I was particularly the windmill I was tilting at was Kaisa's build. I know you mentioned it. I guess it worked. They won, right? I mean, it was perfect.
When the enemy team, commits to the objective you're first to, and your Ziggs and your Kaisa can, do this full poke AP over the wall, and you don't need your DPS, I guess it's fine. You shouldn't anticipate your opponent team to be making those mistakes, but in the end, it worked out for them.
Yeah, I'm. Oh, jeez, it's so hard. Like you said, that was the Sharks game to lose, and I think while the Hammerheads played well, that was definitely the Sharks beat themselves. I think more so than the Hammerheads beat them.
I would have to agree wholeheartedly.
They just kept bleeding out over and over across the map, and it's such a shame because the Sharks looked really good in that early game. And particularly Mike was playing so well on the Amumu in some cases, and then other times he would just walk it in. And I don't know, like, if he just only uses his mini map 30% of the time or what. But it was a real shame. But at the end of the day, Hammerheads do manage to keep their perfect record. However, this game shows that they can bleed. We are showing the stats right now, of course, and Ziggs.
Ziggs, right there.
Ziggs.
That's
Ziggs.
And it's such a good pick into the Victor, right? Most of the time, you don't usually see it into the Victor because it can go, 50-50, right? The Victor can get ahead and he can carry into the Ziggs, but the Ziggs can also get ahead. And it shows, right? They were doing super well job of keeping Defoe in the mid lane, keep accumulating gold, get kills where he could, but making sure he stayed as clean as possible in terms of death, not dying, not running in, not following Mike in. Whenever Mike would run in and die, he was there to pick up some of the kills. He was able to throw his ultimate and, like I said, affect the rest of the map from the mid lane and continue to farm up. But yeah, right there, it was really just you said it. The Sharks beat themselves more than the Hammerheads beat the Sharks. The Hammerheads had unbridled aggression and they just kept going in and in and in. And I think if the Sharks had just recognized that and didn't use their own form of aggression, they could have just cruised their way to an easy victory off of the back of 3 kills for this Jinx.
Yeah, well, I would have to agree with that. And before we go to break, I think we're going to be bringing this back officially with a graphic next week. But player of the game, who do you two think won this for the Hammerheads that isn't a member of the Sharks?
I mean, I think I'd have to give it to Defoe going into this one. To stay cool, calm, and collected, play the range game so well. The Inferno Bombs were on point to pick off low members, and, secondary to Defoe, the team mental of the Hammerheads to stay in that one.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Arlen?
It has to go to Defoe or Vigar Feed. It was one of those two. Vigar Feed was all over the map, just everywhere, all at the exact same time. And he was there for the plays. He had a few int plays. That's why I don't think I can give him the edge over Defoe, where he just flashed in and it looked kind of weird. But both of them really overperformed tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you still have to give credit to Sharky for that heads-up play, stealing the Baron, that helped them stabilize their position in the game. That certainly should be commended, even if Sharky maybe is not necessarily the player of the game. Defoe, there's a reason Defoe is at the top of the league in terms of stats right now. He's just incredibly good. Absolutely. So yeah, we will go ahead and close this game out, close the books on this one, and when we come back, we'll open another book into a new match between the Outlaws and the Vipers. Stick around and we'll be back for more League of Legends action here at Victoris GG. Thank you for watching. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Victoris Amateur Draft. I have no words for that last game, so we're just not going to talk about it anymore. We're going to move on to our next game, which is going to be the Outlaws versus the Vipers. And the Outlaws have had some major roster changes, losing their mid laner due to their mid laner getting banned, and they are using an emergency sub in the jungle as well. So Hoppin, one of their other really standout players, is going to also not be on the roster, which is not promising. But the Vipers, I believe, are just maintaining their regular roster that they've had, which, I mean, is a 2-4 roster, but they've played reasonably well. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this one shakes out. I'm curious to see how these new players fit into the Outlaws, because I imagine when you're trying in this kind of league, synergy is very important. That's one of the Hammerhead strengths, is how much synergy the players have with each other. But when you're bringing in all these subs and these new players, it's got to be harder to play, I would imagine. I wonder what your thoughts are on that sort of perspective.
Yeah, you're right. It's going to be a lot, all these teams are, random, semi-random, just kind of brought together, and they have to like work on the fly with these guys. But yeah, when you lose two of your best members due to whatever reason, you're gonna have to start to look at alternate ways of carry, and I don't see it in the top lane from Lindblom. He had a few decent games on the Gnar, on Camille, but he's mostly the Ornn player of the team, so he's a tank player, and you're not really gonna see it from 6-inch and Sheep, right? He's been playing the Lulu, the Braum, the Blitz, the Thresh, not the Pyke, not the Leona, not the flashy or kill heavy supports. So it's really gonna be from Fivu here, right? 6.4 KDA, can play the Caitlyn, can play the Vayne, can play the Ashe, but can they play the Zeri? Can they play the Jinx? The two big ones. Can they play the complicated, the champion, and the Aphelios? Can they play the Senna, the super hard scaling pick that works super well with whatever you put it together in the bot lane, right? That's what you're looking at on the side of the Outlaws.
Yeah, and we actually have the Outlaws match against the Dragons was put in just a couple minutes ago, and they lost to the Dragons. So their team did not manage to pick up that win, so they're 0-1 on the day. There is the match for the Vipers has not been put in yet, but speaking of KDA, we actually do have a leaderboard here this week for KDA, featuring all the players that are currently legal in here, and you can see here that Defoe, this is based on the stats from week 1 and 2. Week 3 have not been put in yet because it is not finished. So Defoe is at the top of the league, and that was obvious. You can sort of see that with Defoe's play. Definitely a star standout player. And on the Outlaws, you had Hoppin and Zivwu at 2nd and 3rd. So Zivwu is the kind of carry player that they need, just based on those stats and and the sort of play style Zivwu has. Going further down, Spectral's at 4th. Shogun 8th. The Wolves actually have quite a few members on the top KDA as well. And interestingly enough, the Sharks don't have anybody on the top here, despite the fact that they played reasonably well in that last game, and they're on the top half of the league. So it's interesting that the Sharks don't have anybody. Even the Dragons have Starling eking out, barely reaching 10th at the bottom of the table. So
forgive me, I am new to the amateur draft scene, but it seems like the Sharks' game plan is a lot more built around trading 1-for-1. I feel like they're KDA right around that 1 mark as a team, which can still
that is true.
result in wins, but
yeah,
definitely not KDA players.
And you know what? You don't need to be KDA players to necessarily show skill. This is like, KDA is not the definitive way to showcase the skill of players. However, it is a good line to start with when you're evaluating the relative strength of these teams.
Absolutely.
At least until we start getting into the second round robin, when we've seen every team play against every other team, and we have a fairly reasonable measure for what to expect. So back onto what we're getting ready for, which is the next match. It's gonna be interesting to see how the Outlaws fight against the Vipers when the Vipers, I would imagine their match is done. So, for last minute predictions, we're gonna do this time. Predictions between Outlaws and the Vipers. Pre-draft, who do you got?
I'm gonna be controversial. I'll start off. I'll give Arlen the room to shine through and be the reasonable one. I'm gonna give it to the Vipers. I'm gonna think there's you know, and again, I'm new to draft. This isn't my rodeo normally, but I'll put on my cowboy hat, ironically, and say that the Outlaws are not taking this one. Too much turbulence. I think Vipers are going to find a nice little win for themselves here.
Okay. Marlon?
Yeah, just looking at it, purely, you know, randomized, I'm gonna have to give it to the Outlaws right now. Like I said, I think Thivu is a really strong AD carry player, and I really do believe he can pull it through for this team. We just need to see the draft and whether or not they can play for Thivu.
Yeah, and speaking of draft, let's go ahead and get right into that right now, lads. Good luck out there. We're going into the match between the Outlaws and the Vipers. Take it away, boys.
Thank you so much, as we are ready here to go. Outlaws on blue, Vipers on red, League of Legends action coming right at you. And it's going to be interesting to see if there are any big-time differences compared to our last game, if we do get blessed with a draft as exciting as we had last time around. What sort of big power picks should we look out for here, besides the normal meta power picks? Your Victors and your Corkis. What's a little bit more personal to these teams that I should, you know, put my reading glasses on for?
Yeah. Well, so for the side of the Vipers, you know, I'm looking more at the scaling mid laners. We've already seen it, you know, get banned away a few times. The Anivias, the Malzahars, you know, Vygar, Morgana. All those champions are something that Kaiser has played in this mid lane, right? He's played those really safe, scale up, do really nothing except hit skill shots late in the game sort of mid laners. And you know, it's failed and worked a few different times. It's a very volatile style of play, especially considering that their jungler plays the aggressive ones. He's playing the J4s, the Trundles, the Dianas, the Volibears, the Choke, like all these aggressive go-in kind of champions. And so more than likely, we're going to see something like that picked in the mid lane for Viper, and we're going to see that banned away. The Trundles getting banned away, the J4s getting banned away, something potentially like that. In the top lane, or I'm sorry, in the bot lane, we're probably going to be looking at the Vaynes, you know, the Vayne, the Caitlyn, stuff like that getting banned away or picked for the side of the Outlaws.
Yeah, as you speak on, it is the Diana first thing taken off the board by the Outlaws. They don't want to see it. The Vipers now, maybe a bit of a reaction. Who knows if they were tuning in last time around, but don't want to see that Blitzcrank. And I don't think I want to see that Blitzcrank again either after that one. And Volibear, the final takeaway now on blue for Outlaws.
Makes sense.
And now just waiting on what's going to...
What would you ban away? Probably something in the mid lane. Limit his mid lane champ pool quite a bit. Maybe Morgana.
Down to the wire, but it will be Ezreal taken away. So double marksman and support. A lot of bot lane focus coming out from the Vipers.
Absolutely. And now, what do you blind pick here? You have so many options, so many strong champions still left up from the meta. Corki, Victor, just
Jinx,
to name a few. Jinx, to name that one. Zeri made it through. Akshan as well. Strong picks. Ari has been getting noticed a lot more.
And that's Vayne locked in. That's confidence for the Outlaws. I mean, they just snapped that one right up, and Jinx is the response. Scaling carry for scaling carry, but Vayne definitely also has the capability here, Arlen, to pop off in the early game as well. So definitely a slamming, you know, down the gavel and saying, "This is what we're doing. Pick me my Vayne."
That's interesting. I don't know if I would have picked the Janna here. I think I would have gone for the Lulu for the side of Vipers. I think Jinx Lulu is a super strong, nigh unbeatable combo, and whatever is left with for Vayne, you'll get the inferior version. I'm not sure if Janna, not Jane. That's not a thing. She is playing Jane, but that's besides the point. Not quite sure if she can beat the Lulu out in lane or in the later stages of the game and sort of buffing up. And yeah, we're going to see the Vayne Lulu come out for the Outlaws.
No,
oh, Lilia. The last second.
That's a fascinating one. I mean, you know, again, this isn't my wheelhouse, this league, but the Lilia typically I don't
Mhm.
associate with this sort of an elo bracket, as they were thinking on it for a while, and I think it will be the Lulu picked up for them as well. It can be a very difficult champion to pilot to its most effective, you know, state, the Lilia. But the Outlaws, having been a formerly top team despite any topsy-turvy, you know, results in the meanwhile, you know, I could expect to see them pilot this Lilia well. One topic I will bring up is this Janna could still be a flex pick here. This might be Smite Janna top. The Vipers might be thinking, you know, we
Mhm.
need to steal a win away here. I guess it all depends on what their confidence level is going in. And now they're just deciding what the R3 response is going to be, hovering lots of junglers, lots of AD fighters. What are they going to settle on here?
Absolutely, and what, and it will be the Rek'Sai thoughts. So one thing I just want to highlight real quickly, you're right, the Janna is super strong in the top lane, but she's really hard to beat in the spot lane. Like the closest thing she has to a losing matchup is a 51% win rate into Soraka, right? Like she doesn't lose in terms of traditional supports, just, you know, like buffing up our team and helping our team out. So yeah, a super strong pick for them with the Jinx, Rek'Sai as well, a super strong jungler in the meta. Lilia, you know, unfortunately does lose to the Rek'Sai pretty frequently. I think it's hovering around 44% right now, so it's not a good matchup for the Lilia. And right now, the Vipers are just showing their drafting expertise.
Yeah, definitely so. Nar, great takeaway for them. I mean, I'd really like to see the Outlaws here hit Thresh. That I know it seems that the Janna is going to be the support lock, and as you point out, it's so strong in that support lane. But take away the Viper's ability to be tricky and surprise you. That Thresh, you know, the premier sort of support lock in with the Jinx, along with that Lulu. It's usually one or the other. Make them commit to sending that Janna down bot, as they will take away a flex pick in the case of the Vipers with the Morgana, but another, you know, supportive option. And now it's, you know, the Vipers are going to have to show their hand a little bit here, are going to save that counter pick, but it's going to be one of the solo lanes coming out here.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where it can really hurt the Vipers to have a really passive mid laner. And yeah, like the Veigar coming out super strong, but like I said, leaves that kind of pick open so very hard. Veigar, you know, strong pick even with the buffs coming through, but can get out macroed quite easily, right? It's a slower pick, right? He needs to ramp up. You still have Yasuo, Diana, that you can put Diana into the top lane, or Yasuo into the top lane, or even Lilia into the top lane, something crazy like that. TF as well to get around the map. Or there's the Vladimir, a super common matchup that you see quite a bit into this Veigar.
Yeah, I really like the Outlaws. You know, a lot of the times, even on VRS, I talk about ease of execution when it comes to picks in these lower elo bracket leagues. And, you know, the Outlaws are saying, to hell with ease of execution, we're going to pick the strongest champions. And we're going to count on our individual skill to play them well. As it is the Ornn to round it off, even more scaling locked in for themselves, and lots of tools. Not necessarily easy to execute tools, but if you can play these champions to their ceilings, you know, the sky is the limit for the Outlaws off of this draft.
Absolutely. And for the Vipers right here, I just suggest you pick something that you can put resources into, because Rek'Sai loves to put resources into champions. It's kind of hard for her to use those resources effectively for herself, right? So you really need not Garen the Bruiser here. Maybe this Garen pick was a mistake, not quite sure. Either way.
We'll wait to see if they, in the lobby, let us know if that's a stand-in for something. I don't believe it is. I believe that is the Garen locked in on R5. I mean, I'm not sure what to make of that one. If the idea is something that beats Ornn in lane, I don't know if Garen does it, or at least not for long. Ornn, in terms of the tanks, is actually so hard to bully out of lane.
Absolutely. And I think even in terms of dealing damage early, I think Ornn has more than enough damage to deal with the Garen. He's just a strong champion in general, the Ornn, right? If you play him well, if you get your brittle procs off, you can quite easily outtrade the Garen and take 100% control of this lane, making it that much harder for Rek'Sai to do anything, right? Lilia loves to invade. She loves to get in people's faces and dance them around them with blooming blows. And if she can do that with the Rek'Sai is going to have a tough game. Even with the scaling being kinda on their side, you know, they have the Vayne, they have Lulu, they have Vladimir, they have and the Vipers, you know, on the other side have Jinx and Veigar. You're gonna have cannon minion for a champion in the Rek'Sai if things go wrong. Well, two cannon minions. Garen's kind of default cannon minion.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be rough to see if it doesn't get off the ground early and often, as you were saying. One sort of angle I can maybe see with the Garen is in LPL recently, we've been seeing a lot of priority on Hullbreaker users, champions that just want to camp the side lane. A lot of Hullbreaker versus Hullbreaker first item rushes in the top lane in the LPL. Maybe as the mid game hits and the Ornn wants to go in team fight, wants to get out that Forge God, maybe the Garen can find success splitting down the objectives for himself. I think the team fight wombo is not bad either. The Janna, can use that storm to blow people into the Veigar cage, but I feel like the win conditions are so narrow for the Vipers, whereas the Outlaws have just drafted themselves a comp with so many tools. I mean, I have to throw it to the Outlaws. What about you, Arlen?
Yeah, I'm kind of split on this, right? Like, it's just right for now for the draft. The Vipers have a lot of tools. You're right. They have a lot of strong champions, but the issue is that none of them are really synergistic. The Jinx, Janna are, Rek'Sai Janna are not. Rek'Sai Veigar are kind of synergistic. Not really, but Garen doesn't synergize well with anybody, and they're a really strong disengage team with a decent follow-up engage from the Rek'Sai. It's just all over the place and kind of just doesn't make sense. So you're right. I have to give it over to the Outlaws. They have a much stronger team comp, a much stronger, clear team identity. But of course, this all can go down the drain if the Outlaws run it early.
Yep, the execution is always going to be the most important element. Of course, as we saw in the last game, we both liked the draft of the Sharks a lot in that last game, but they didn't play to their win conditions, and so in the end, it didn't wind up mattering too much. Always the key to look out for. But yeah, that's the rundown. Is it too late to switch my production? Can I give it to Outlaws? No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to stick with the Vipers. I hope to see them find some magic here with this sort of bizarre team comp they've drafted for themselves, but we'll have to wait and see if they can do it until after a quick spectator delay break. So we are going to throw it to a real quick break, but stay tuned because this is going to be a spicy one way or the other. It's coming up real soon here on VAD. right, everyone, game 2 of the night. We are jumping into action. It's Outlaws and Vipers, and we got Spice all around. Spice to fill up, fill up, and then some, whatever you put spices in. A spice cabinet, perhaps. We have enough
Space
spices
cabinet.
for. But yeah, Arlen, we are here, and we are ready to see how this Lilia does, does interact with the rest of the cast here, as it's just the standard point defense, 5v5, nothing spicy like last time, no mid dance spams, just a bunch of guys who are ready to play maybe some more measured League of Legends than we saw last game.
Absolutely, and you're gonna see the early invade. This is what you need to do when you're facing a Rek'Sai, right? Like Rek'Sai cannot fight early invites. That's just the nature of the champion. So that's just thus your team has to see that early vision. So they're able to walk up in their face, just get the ward down, and you can't do anything about it. So they already know that Rek'Sai more than likely will be starting top. So they can, path opposite of that and avoid the fight entirely, and really start scaling for this Lilia, because it's not really devoting resources into an Ornn. It's more about scaling for the Lilia and looking to pick up free kills on the Garen when he overextends.
Yeah. Ruby Jester going to have to show us some big flexing on the Garen in terms of making that champ work, because it's definitely not one you see a lot of in organized play. Very, very clear weaknesses, and when we're not in a big Yuumi Garen meta, definitely not the thing you expect to see. Is it was Colby having a little bit of trouble with that red buff, but does in the end get it done, taken care of. Gives Jinx and Janet the time to secure the push for Wolven and Kaiser, going to get themselves that level 2 first. So important. But I guess the question to ask here is, what lane do you expect to see the focus in if Lilia isn't going to be dedicating too much of her time towards the Ornn? Where do you think we're going to see the first big skirmishes play out here?
Well, just from the pathing alone, I think the major skirmishes will be bot side. And we already see right here the power of the Ornn into the Garen.
Wow, look at
It's
the
just
Garen
able to
win that
do
trade.
so much damage, dude. But the
It's
first
such a
big
good
skirmish,
pick.
the first big skirmish will be probably around mid bot side, right? That are like not around the Drakes realistically, because your top side's pretty much, unless something crazy happens, pretty much already kind of a washboard for you. Rek'Sai and Garen do have a lot of damage come 6, and so that's an opportunity there. But before 6, and whenever your ults are down, nothing really to speak of. Lilia just kind of gets free reign right here, and she just wants to scale up, as again we see early trading onto this Garen, and he's just beating him up.
Yeah, that was a better trade for the Garen in the end there, as the last one was very lopsided, but he managed to use that W very well to preserve his health bar, and now is just going to hang back until he does get that passive activation. Ornn, though, has the capability to be a nuisance with some ranged abilities, doesn't want to let that tick on, doesn't want to let the Garen get the health back. The mana pool could be an issue, and the wave is pushing forward. I don't think Jester needed to commit to another trade. He could have waited for the wave to come where it was safe, and now he'll have to flash because he wanted to get cute, and he's either going to have to hang way back for his passive. Oh, Ornn flashing forward! First blood off the pillar, and he won't fall for it. I mean, I don't know what Jester was thinking up in that top lane, but it's Lindblum
look
who
at Jin.
he does find the advantage off of it, but now the flash, the baby cage, the W, it comes down. Ornn gonna get stunned up, gonna give it to Gent. So in the end, it's a delayed 1-for-1, but it's Rek'Sai now wanting to make the action continue, finding the knockup, finding the chomp down. Night Rain going to get the kill going, and it's Vipers coming out swinging. 2-1 is the advantage, but they're down gold here.
You can't be doing that. He's forced to flash out there, and that's a rough scenario. You don't want to be a flashless Jinx into a Rek'Sai.
Yeah, I mean, that was bizarre from the Vayne. Knows exactly where the jungler is, was just there. Decides to walk up to try and farm CS that's about to push to you anyway. You don't have to walk up there, but,
Even a little bit.
We do a little bit of trolling here, Arlen. It's okay.
A little bit of trolling hurts nobody, except, our chances at winning. But regardless, again, you already see Ruby Jester getting forced back and away from lane again. Lilia's up on the top side looking to kill him in some way, some capacity. But yeah, the first gank comes out and is super successful for the Rek'Sai. You gotta love it, and you just want to get this Rek'Sai gravy train kind of rolling, this Rek'Sai Veigar gravy train moving forward, getting kills wherever they can, getting assists wherever they can, and it just feel nice as 6-inch Sheep is just kind of walking into the Rek'Sai here.
Yeah, Rek'Sai going to take that tunnel away, but it's as you say, you know, this Rek'Sai, it exists in solo queue to find those level 2 cheese ganks over the fat walls with the tunnels, and when it doesn't do that, it's not particularly successful. You don't see it a lot, even though it's very OP in solo queue right now, where you do see it a lot. You don't see it a lot in the competitive play because the coordination is generally, you know, you're able to play around that. We saw the nice late ward come in and spot exactly where that Rek'Sai started from the side of Outlaws. They knew it was going to be clearing towards the bot lane, and yet Six and Sheep was, you know, unfortunately fell susceptible to that gank anyway. So definitely not the most auspicious start for Outlaws. And even though they can't, you know, have any way of knowing this, we're with the magical power of the observation tool aware that they're ahead in gold a little bit. Definitely might be feeling a little bit shaken by the fact that they got, you know, the runaround there. As Lilia camping out, waiting around, the tornado did not scout her out. And now it's the 4v2, the 4v3 with Rek'Sai here, but she's going to come over the wall. Yeah, oh my god, they actually found that kill first! And now it's Gent in the end who takes the Predator down, gets there in time, second to move.
The ultimate.
Yeah, gets 6 inch Sheep. He was the second to move, but the first to arrive was Gent and make an impact. And that opens up, you know, free reign around this Hextech Drake. Going to pick that one up nice and early for themselves are Vipers, with the jungler, you know, too far away to come and threaten any sort of seal. So 4-1 is the kill score. The first Drake coming through. It's a big one, too, for everybody on that team. Attack speed and CDR, exactly what you want. So Viper's in a very good position in this early game.
Absolutely, and it's just like kind of a big question mark that you have to have for the Outlaws here, right? Like, you don't have to do anything at all. You just need to do what Lindblom is doing. Find lucky, advantageous kills when they're misplaying the lane, but you don't have to force the kills. You don't have to force the plays, and that's what we saw right there. They brought down range tops. They brought down Cole to try and force a play on bot side. You don't have to force ever. You just let the wave freeze outside your turret, and if they overstay, then you bring in Cole. You call him over. And he gets his own free kill, but you don't have to do anything else. You can quite literally just farm up till like second Drake gets taken, or third Drake even, if you wanted to, and you don't have to worry about anything in the world. And then you just respond to their, you know, bad plays, and you sit pretty.
Yeah, definitely the case. And now it's just about trying to, as you say, weather the storm and get to that late game that you should dominate with the Vayne, with the Vladimir, getting those ornaments from Lindblom, who's having himself a very nice lane. Up in kills, of course, up in CS, and just trying to do his part to play the wave correctly. Only last hitting right now, letting it push towards him, keeping himself out of harm's way. The Rek'Sai around topside, not going to be able to find much there, especially with that Bellows Breath W, you know, giving you the unstoppable, making you immune to CC. Very great tool for playing around the Rek'Sai ganks.
Yeah, and it's super good into Rek'Sai and Veigar. They're just unstoppable, not able to be moved at all. But yeah, now it's on the back. You know, they have a little bit of a gold advantage, but it's still on the back of the Rek'Sai to get things moving. They have to go, already getting spied out, but they have to kind of go for this Rift Hill, right? They have the pressure from the top side. You know, Garen has more than enough room to move here. You guys get the early Rift Hill, drop it top, drop it mid, do something with it, and just try to get some gold into your pockets.
Yeah, and it's definitely the clean response here with the Rek'Sai recognizing, okay, the Ornn can freeze this wave if he wants, as the freeze was eventually broken, but he can play it safe, he can let it push to him, but, you know, that gives me the chance to just move on to this Rift Herald, and he's not going to be able to do anything about it. Got the deep vision down onto the blue buff, which we now see Jester going towards. I think I would rather him help his jungler clear that Rift Herald, but Lilia on the bot side, not going to even sniff it contesting, instead going to look for some sort of angle onto the Jinx. Here comes the bowling ball, but it will find no pins, just the minions. And that's, you know, sort of a failure of a cross-map play, as this wave is pushed with, you know, no punish. They can't hold the freeze. They'll get the bounce back. So nothing found on the bot side. It's just an uncontested Rift Herald for the side of Vipers.
Absolutely, and what makes it even worse is you have to look at what the Rek'Sai is now doing. Look at him. He's just walking into his jungle, dropping wards, taking camps, and now the Lilia, if she doesn't recognize that this play has been made, she has to... What Lilia should be doing is sprinting bot side, taking the Rek'Sai's camps and trying to turn it into a vertical jungle situation. However, walking top side, expecting all three camps to be up and only getting met with the wolves, this Lilia is going to be in a rough spot for the rest of the game here unless they get some amount of gold back onto themselves.
Yeah, now the bad news will be delivered. The deer has been Bambied, so to speak, all out of gold and experience for herself around the top side. And it hurts because this Lilia's biggest strength is the power clearing, is getting ahead to scale, is finding that insane % health damage with double burn late game. And that's just going to get delayed and delayed. Now her Raptors are back up, but the bot side mostly empty. So we see the Rex side getting ahead in pressure, getting ahead in ganks, and getting ahead in the farm. It's just a win condition that shouldn't be realized if you're playing around it correctly. And, you know, things just haven't been really going Outlaw's way. They found no angles as, you know, the map has been sort of a clean sweep for the Vipers. Now Rek'Sai was spotted on the pink, but what can be done about it? She has the capability to move past. Yeah, the polymorph into
my god.
Yeah, into the stun. It was such a good play. Will force the Hugify coming out of the Lulu, but now the double sleep. Lilia getting big damage down. Rek'Sai was the one who was left alone to suffer for it. The shield into the ult. The Typhoon coming out from the Janna. But now she's in no man's land. Left to take the tower aggro with nothing around to escort her exit, and Vygar will be ticking down. Vladimir is going to be flashing over the wall. Range tops wants to secure that one. He committed the ult. He committed the ignite. Colby getting the killing spree now on the back of one play, turning the whole story of the game around. That's so good for Vipers, but they lost everything in that exchange.
And look at the top side. Look, he might be getting another solo kill, barely keeping himself alive with a shield as Ruby Jester. But it's like right there. They had to do something. They recognized that they had to make a play happen, and that's fine, right? That's what you want to be doing when you have the Rek'Sai. However, they overforced it. They overstayed. They overcommitted. Once they saw that the polymorph was dealt with, the flash play was dealt with so successfully, they had to back out immediately. They couldn't overstay right there. You know, once they got spotted on the pink ward, I think even you could have just dropped the herald and walked away. That would have been more than enough for them to get a pretty good gold advantage in this early game. That would have been worked out totally fine there. But they still do manage to collect this Drake, so it's kind of a consolation prize, but they still need to drop this herald rather soon.
Yeah, in the end, I don't really understand how that happened. I mean, I understand the Drake wasn't up to be taken off the back of the play, but you had so much room as the Outlaws, after finding a clean sweep of multiple members in the bot side, to move forward, get really aggressive vision in the enemy bot side jungle, but instead just a little bit late, a little bit of sleep at the wheel, and going to let another Drake go through. And now it's the Infernal Dragon on the board, the Drake stacking begun for the Vipers, so that could be a big soul win condition for them with such a high damage team as Lilia. She just gonna get soloed and shut down by the Garen. Ruby Jester heard us talking smack about his pick, and he decides to show why he prioritized it as the R5, just you know, pressing his outplay button on Colby there.
Yeah, and right there, it wasn't so much as pressing the outplay button as just letting Cole miss his W, right? That's a huge damaging ability from the Lilia. It didn't pop sleep at all, so he just dodged the W, and he has no other tool really to trade back into him in terms of damage, and he, you know, it just gets popped. It just gets popped with the ultimate right there, and it will be looking like this tier 1's going down. They did pop the Rift Herald, and it opens up the map, but I don't like it. I don't like dropping the Rift Herald or not dropping the Rift Herald, but so much as dropping the tier 1 so early, right? Because now what does the Jinx do? Does she just go farm mid lane for years while the Vayne gets to freeze bot and just have a roaming Lulu? You know, that's something that they could do. Or Vladimir is freezing bot. Either way, someone's freezing bot. You're not able to push onto that tier 2, and they're just able to get gold.
I think you take it as the acceleration for Jinx because oh my goodness, it's another solo kill for Lindblom. This guy is just making Garen's life hell up there. And, you know, I think a lot of top laners might see that as justice, especially after another shared universal top lane experience. Your jungler comes top and ints a kill to your lane opponent. Definitely not what you like to see. But yeah, it's interesting to see what they're going to do with the Jinx. Thankfully, off the back of all those plays, your hyper-scaling champion now has the Kraken Slayer.
Ooh, look at Jin.
Yeah, he's here. He has the cage. Can Ornn find the sidesteps? No, and he can't find the tier 1 either. Overpush so hard trying to get that. In the midst of the minion waves, he can trade hard. Oh my goodness gracious. That primordial burst was not enough to find the kill, but it's not like Lindblom had anywhere to go. So in the end, he does get picked up by Jen, who's now 3-0 on the Vygar. And things going, you know, pretty good for Vipers. They had a hiccup around that bot lane fight there, Arlen, but in the end, they're still continuing to stay ahead across the map.
100%. And right there, one thing I just want to highlight is, yeah, the Kraken Slayer did come out for the Jinx, but I don't think it's the move here. I think you still prioritize that Gale Force. I think it's too strong as they're trading in very hard on the Zifu there, but he does get hit by the Drowsy. They're waiting so long.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I guess a little bit baited by his support jungle duo being right there. They do eventually answer one back, but 80 carry for support, not necessarily the trade you want to make. Just so patient from Night Rain and Kaiser there. I don't know if you're a CSGO player, Arlen, but that reminds me a lot of being in a choke and your teammate is, he's holding the corner and he lets you die and he just lets 1, 2, 3 enemies walk past into the bomb site before he tries and gets revenge. Eventually they do find the revenge, though.
That's exactly what happened, getting baited out there. And you're right, it's not a worth trade getting the support for the AD carry, especially when your AD carry is already so beaten up off of the back of all these plays. Now they're going to be looking, trying to do something in the Lindblom here, trying to secure this next Scuttle Crab. I think if you're the side of Outlaws, you just have to let it go in this situation. You can't really contest it. Your Vladimir is scaling on the bomb side of the map, so you're in a good situation. He has a CS lead in the mid lane, but he is missing out on those 3 kills. Ooh,
Great tornado, max distance, and the stride breaker from the Garen, making this fast deer much, much slower. Now the trap's in perfect position. Wolven Alchemist getting in on the phone, picking up the first kill for this Jinx. And now the baby cage, Lulu, nowhere to go, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide as Gent's on a rampage. And it's just Vipers continuing to run this map. The second Rift Herald is all theirs if they want it. 40 seconds ticking down on this Infernal Drake spawn. Vayne getting forced off the tier 1. Only one tier 1 turret standing for them still in the top lane. And Ruby Jester can move towards that at any point with this pushing wave. I mean, it's all coming up Vipers right now.
Yeah, right there, it's good for them. It's really good for them because they had that early misplay, like we stated. They gave over 3 kills, right? They've given over a few solo bolos over the top side, but it's a good situation for them nonetheless. It really feels nice for them just to be able to run this mid game like they have been, and that's the nature of it. You have a Rek'Sai, you want to run this mid game. You want to get in their faces early and fight. This is the prime time to do it. Granted, if it goes any later, the Rek'Sai is quite literally useless.
That is,
so is Garen, but it's fine nonetheless.
Especially with this full indexing towards the Prowler's Claw burst, as I do not like this at all. They commit all of their members to the top side, do Vipers, just to get another tier 1 turret, which is going to fall eventually no matter what. Instead of moving S5 to the Drake, I mean, you have to use this early lead to secure yourself the soul, because you are going to get outscaled here eventually. The Jinx and the Veigar both scale very well, but as we pointed out multiple times, Rek'Sai and Garen are not champions in the late game. You cannot count on them unless you're finding these strong leads in the early game, and they are up 4K. This is so bizarre. Is this really going to work? I mean,
how do you let that happen?
That's the tier 3 down. The Bellows Breath to find a good return trade. The inhib taken oh so low. Now they have to convert. They have to capitalize, do Outlaws off the back of this. But Gent's here to back up the play. I mean, that was the heist. They came in. They took that tier 2 turret, which is worth about 550 gold. Excuse me. And they do put even more in their coffers. They line their pockets a little more. Maybe you can call that a worthwhile try. I thought they were going to take that tier 1 and back off, but instead they rammed that second Rift Herald down their throats.
Yeah, that was a huge power play for them. That's a huge tempo advantage right there. But, one thing it does kind of create is they no longer have real quote-unquote safe lanes, right? They do have tier 1 still standing, so you still say, oh, but they have the tier 1 standing, right? They can run back to those, but those aren't really safe lanes, right? It doesn't allow them to freeze the wave as easily, and at the end of the day, if they wanted to push, they have to overextend to push, and if their vision control just isn't there, whoever they send into the side lane is going to be in a rough situation. So I guess they're getting around it by not really sending anyone to the side lane. They're just kind of grouping en masse here. And I guess that is one way to get around macro. So what do you do here if you're the Outlaws? Well, you continue to scale. But the scaling time is soon going to be coming to an end. 30 seconds on this Baron. And you just now are really reaching these first item power spikes for pretty much all your members.
as taking a look at some of those items, as we had both pointed out, the Kraken Slayer, I'm not crazy about it for the Jinx in this game. I understand it increases the DPS, especially against the tanky Ornn, but there's not really a lot of other members that in an ideal world you're going to be free hitting. I'd much rather see something with defensive utility like the Shield Bow, like the Gale Force, which, you know, is the best of both worlds right now after that Shield Bow nerf. The one thing they do have doing for them is absolutely no defensive vision for Outlaws around the Baron, which is up and ready to be taken now. And they cleared out all the defensive vision around the Dragon Pit as well, so they really do have the run of the map. And now the Cage is going to find two members locked up, locked down. Garen spinning to win. Vladimir into the pool. Can he find the outplay? He gets the Hemo Plague down, but the Storm from Janna to keep their Garen alive. The W offers so much shielding at this point, and now Vladimir is the one who's forced to run. Rek'Sai is going to flash aggressively. It's just Vayne and Lilia against the world. The ultimate coming out, the clutch stopwatch. But can it be enough? Ornn is here. Can Lindblom turn the fight? He has the Forge God. He has called it. He has blown the horn. He is going forward. He is finding Janna with the Brittle Procs. The Pillar blocking his own way, though. Lilia running, trying to run them down. The Flash, the Pillar. Garen trying to regen. Jinx trying to free hit. Going to get the Zap out. Going to find the slowdown. Can Woven Alchemist find the death blow? Can he find the coup de grace to end it all? No, I'm not sure that this play will continue. Instead, it looks like both teams accepting the 3-for-2, backing it back out, and just saying this scrap has gone the way ever so slightly of Outlaws this time around.
Yeah, you know, they did lose a few huge shutdowns onto Veigar. You know, the 800 gold, or 700 gold going over to the Way of Cole right there. And yeah, they got a lot of kills in there on the return, right? They got the kills from the Vladimir, they got the kills from the onto the Vayne rather, but yeah, I have to give it still to the Vipers right there. They still got the tier 2 down. They got the teleports out. They got a lot of kills for themselves. It's a feels good situation as they now can turn their attention solely to this Baron as this Drake comes up. Like, you can sacrifice this second tier Drake here unless you don't have to with 6-inch ints.
Yeah, that's definitely an int. I mean, he used that wild growth on himself there, almost never what you want to be doing as the Lulu, and dies anyway. Now it's going to be Night Train moving forward, saying choo choo, coming into the station with that ultimate on the Rek'Sai, will fall in return, but the 1-for-2 is always welcome. Although losing the jungler right before the Drake spawn, not ideal. But it's going to be Ruby Jester pulling multiple members to the top side, so this should be open season anyway. Even if your Garen dies, I think you call that worth it. The horn blown, the Forge God called. The Condemned not quite going to find the stun. Can Garen actually run his way out of this? No, it's going to be 5 Woo, Vayne getting the kill, but it's going to be Soul Point for the Vipers.
Yeah, right there, it's a rough situation to lose 2 of your members, but again, you're right, it's so worth it to trade the Drake over. Like, these stats that they have from these Drakes cannot be bought in the shop. It's a 4% extra boost, and if they get the last one, 8% extra and the soul, right? These stats are just unmatched, especially when you have a champion like Veigar, who's going to be eventually buying that Rabadon's and boosting his AP up to pretty dangerously high levels. And one thing I just want to highlight is the fact that Zimbu lost to the shopkeeper here. He bought the Kraken Slayer, he bought the Wormfall and Sacrifice, and that's not something you can go on Vayne, especially when you're into such a high damage comp. You have to either be going the Gale Force if you think you can ego it somehow, or more than likely the safer option in the Shield Blow, right? You need that shield, you need that sustain, you need something from that. I think Gale Force plus, you know, maybe a Hex Drinker here would have been totally fine. Hex Drinker does great into, you know, with the new buffs that it got, it does great into Veigar. But I think with all the attention that you were getting bought, you should have recognized and saw that, you know, Shield Blow would have been the best option here.
Yeah, as it's very much a frontline hitting build, right? It's Phantom Dancer and Kraken Slayer, it's the free fire, auto attack, the Beef Boys, but Night Train has so many tools to avoid getting auto down in the fight, including that Void Rush. And, you know, the Garen wants to be absorbing your attention with this Force of Nature, wants to be getting hit to get the speed boosts, and anytime you're autoing the Garen, it gives his actual carries time to focus down your backline. Gent does not care at all because he can just bring those W's down over the back of the fight, hit your carries, so I don't think it's very apt for the game situation they're in, but if the team fight goes on long enough, maybe they'll find them the value they need. Definitely a curious choice, as Ruby Jester getting a little bit cheeky, moving forward onto Lin Bloom, saying, I think I win this one at this point. I'm not sure if he does, but he
I'm
thinks
pretty
so.
sure he doesn't. I'm pretty sure Lin Bloom has more than enough damage to deal with him, but he doesn't need to take a fight, Lin Bloom. He's totally fine just letting the Garen push the wave and him just freezing it under his tier 1, or sorry, tier 2 rather, and just playing that waiting game. But one thing I do want to highlight is he's not, Zeev or Fibwu actually isn't the only one to have lost to the shopkeeper here. Also, the Vladimir losing to the shopkeeper, opting for his second item, Rabadons. Vladimir loves his CDR, right? He loves his AP and CDR and movement speed. Those are the items he's going for. And what item gives him that? Plus HP? Cosmic Drive. He loves Cosmic Drive. It would have been huge on him here, and it would have given him maybe enough potential to carry, but definitely not the Rabadons here. It only makes him pseudo-tankier, quite realistically, and I don't think your team needs pseudo-tankiness.
Yeah, definitely the case. I will say, at the very least, it's not the most egregious thing you can do. Absolutely no MR on the other team. Outside of a couple pairs of... actually, no, that's not true. Garen has the Force of Nature. Excuse me, I'm inting the cast as Zivwoo's inting the game. Gent finding another uncontested kill. Rek'Sai moving forward. Night Train leaving the station once again. Super speed, Bullet Train with the Void Rush. I mean, it's already 3-0. It's a team fight victory right in front of the Baron pit. It's so easy to turn and get that purple worm, get the purple armor. Jinx just going to secure the mid priority as now she can move back up and help the team take down the Nash. I mean, things are more or less locked up here for Vipers. I mean, not to put the caster curse on them, but where do they lose from this point on with the purple worm? Going to give them full priority for this Infernal Drake in a minute and a half, and that's going to be double uber buffs, assuming they make no big blunders. Absolutely,
and I don't think they can make any big blunders at this point. They are hitting that breaking point for their team comp where their team kind of scales no more, right? They're definitely getting to that point really quickly. They're fast approaching it, and yeah, the Vigard again. If Vivu just had the shield blow, he maybe wouldn't have gotten popped like the Vigard. The Vigard able to land through all 3 of his abilities and then flash over, pressed R. You can't do anything about it. You're gonna die at the end of the day. Especially if you have no defensive version for yourself. The stopwatch already been popped. Yeah, now they have to fight this last Drake. They have to do something and try to get a turret, get some kills on the board. Anything at all, really, for this side of Outlaws. Yeah, and it will be the Drake that is the next focal point with the Baron taken off the map. And it's going to be Outlaws first to the play in terms of getting a lot of vision down for themselves. With this 8k gold deficit, though, with the big carries so huge in the Jinx and the Vigor, can you win the fight around even if you're first to the play? I mean, maybe if Jester continues to split. I mean, he has the TP to join, but I would like to see him with the team earlier, move forward to help them get in before the Drake spawns, because you don't want to be walking in with the Lilia Lilting Lullaby available. Can buy them so much time to just burst this down. And look at Ornn, he's zoning them all away. Lindblom using the Call of Fortune God. This Infernal Drake is going to go their way. Maybe Garen trades the inhibitor for it, but that was your soul. Yeah, that's a nice little gold boost back into their pockets. But even though it is your soul, you are trading the inhib for it, it looks like. And it's fine, right? That's their second Drake, right? They don't get anything off of it. It feels fine if you're playing on the side of the Vipers. It's okay to hand that over. Now you just got to go down and siege their mid-tier 3 here, and that's what they're going to be looking to do, because they're just not ready. They're not responding for it, and that's what's going to happen. Maybe even get a second inhib for yourself. Yeah, that is taken off the board now, and they're not stopping yet. Flirting with the idea of trying to push for the end. Instead, they're playing it by the book, going to go get this bot lane tier 2, a lot of the last of the standing gold on the map. These tier 2s so valuable for them, as Jinx actually forced to flash. It was a good angle from Lindblom to try and patch out Woven Alchemist, but when you're this far ahead, you have those cooldowns in reserve ready to be used. That's sort of a magic eraser for your mistakes, so a bit of a misposition, but it can't be punished because, you still had your flash waiting in your pocket the whole time. But now, Rage Rousey hits onto the 2 critical targets.
Yeah, double Lilting Lullaby, and now the Janna! Can she heal through the Hemo Plague? Oh my god, the healing's disgusting! Vladimir in the backline getting so much damage down. The exhaust was good, but it is Ornn who's finding the backline assassinations. That's a wipe for Outlaws. They find 4 Gent, the only one to survive. The team fight played out exactly as you needed it to for Outlaws, and they have just bought themselves a big line back into this game. And these super minions streaming into the base now cease to be such a nuisance and become an angle for a comeback. So much gold for them to collect.
So much gold, and that right there was absolutely perfect. They hit the Lilting Lullaby onto the 2 critical targets, right? They hit it onto both Jint and the Jinx, and thus with Jint being slept, they weren't able to stop their engage. They weren't able to stop the Ornn from just walking up in their faces. They weren't able to stop Range Top from just walking up and dropping the Hemo Plague. They weren't able to stop Vivu from walking up and, you know, tumbling into the middle of the team. Viger just wasn't there to stop any of that, and you know, Jinx wasn't able there to dissuade with the damage. So a very, very nice Lilia play. Very good job from Range Tops right there. Huge amounts of damage onto the Diana, forcing out the ultimate, then doing even more damage on the back end of the fight. Even though that they did drop to Night Train, it doesn't matter because they did their job. They killed or dealt as much damage as they needed to, and at the end of the day, that's fine. Like when your rotation-based mage manages to get their rotations out, I call that a win fight.
Yeah, definitely so. And now this game becomes so much hairier. A lot of opportunities to close out more cleanly or secure more advantages for the Vipers, especially that Soul Drake they didn't make a pass at. Starting to come into question, especially with another ornament coming through. That is the Proto Belt upgrade into the Arrow Pack for Range Tops. And that could open up so much space for this Vladimir to really dominate like we saw. He got all that damage down in the last fight. So things more on a knife's edge than I expected them to be. And now it's just, the waiting game, as Vipers do still have the map priority with 2 pushing waves of supers. And now it could be Colby caught out. Rek'Sai over the top, getting down, finding the knockup. Still has the Void Rush available, but with the Rocket going wide, maybe choosing quite smartly and not to commit on that one would have been a rush right in the death for Night Train.
Right here, and this is smart from Cole. Waste, both sides of their jungle is wasted their flash. That's totally fine. But right here, this is the critical moment. You have to delay long enough so they don't instantly rush down Baron. If they instantly rush down Baron, then there's going to be like a roughly 20-second gap between Baron spawning and getting killed, and the Drake spawning, right? You need to play this perfectly if you're the side of the Outlaws. You need to juggle it so that they don't instantly rush down one or the other, and you have to force them to choose, and then you can just take the other one. Baron will feel very nice. It stops them from being able to push into you, but you do lose the advantage of the Dragon Soul, right? So yeah, it's all. I think it's the smarter play is just to go for the Drake here if you are the Vipers, and sack Baron. It doesn't really matter, but they need to do something because, like I said, they can only one-shot you so hard before you start to get items.
Yeah, and I think they've bought themselves exactly what they need. They're playing cautiously around this bot lane, are the Vipers. I thought for a second it might be an overextension. Please, don't move up too far, Vipers. You can play around this. You can secure 3 lanes of priority for yourself, and then, the Outlaws would be forced to do nothing. You can have the Garen threaten the base to keep them away from the Baron while the rest of you go to the Drake, and it looks like that's exactly what they're doing. Gent TPing in 7 seconds to go on the Infernal Drake spawn, and they're basically tongue-tied. The Outlaws, they're leg-locked. There's nowhere for them to really move as the waves continue to pour in, and now the Infernal Soul will be claimed. It goes over to Night Train. It goes over to the Vipers. So much combat power for themselves, and they can saunter on over to the Baron.
Yeah, and then, oh no, this is in a macro in a nutshell. They just walk it down mid. They can end the game, and they realize their blunder. They made a major mistake. They're going to be starting their backs now, but they've been played because now they just walk in and scoop up the Baron. It's so very smart from the side of Vipers, but they don't want to take the Baron themselves. That they had the angle, they had the opportunity, they had the right idea.
I don't understand what's happening now. They're going to go and clear out the vision now. Playing it a bit slower. I don't even think Vipers really understood what happened there, but now both inhibs are back up. You lose a lot. You had automatic priority with those 2 waves of supers going, but with both of those inhibs back up, it's much more wishy-washy when it comes to who does have the first move on the Baron. You're going to have to manually push that mid lane out as they are doing. This one still is existing. It's teetering and tottering between two possibilities here. It's just going to be the ping pong with the waves until somebody is out of position and some sort of pick sets up the move to the Baron, you have to feel.
Yeah, roughly, this gold lead has pretty stagnant. Went down from its 5K height to around 4K, 4,500 gold, right? And that's just not something you want to do when they're going for an opportunity on Wolf and Alchemist.
Yeah, he's just absolutely deleted Vayne. Zivwu finding the absolute shit through the wild growth! Oh my goodness, the event horizon blinking him out of existence. It's the double kill for Vygar. And now that should be all they need to go to that Baron. Although they've lost a lot of their DPS, I think they still have the capability to do it. Maybe they'll just win the game instead. Is Colby 5 going to be the next one to fall? And now it's Range Tops running for the hills, but the pool is not enough. That is 4 members gone. I mean, this should just be the death march right here. It's inhib number 1 being focused down. There's a wave. They just have to protect it. Call the Forge God, not available yet. That's Ornn's best chance here for Lindblom to clear out the wave before the turrets fall. Gets the pillar out across, but the Infernal Soul could put such a hurting on him. He's trying to get rid of that backdoor bonus, but he just can't do it. His Nexus is naked and exposed. They are onto it. The Baby Cage for zoning, and that's the win for the Vipers. They take it home.
Wow, right there, that was just mind-blowing, because you saw the power of the Vayne right there. Popped off towards the end, got the kill on the critical kill onto the Jinx, but went too hypey. Way too hypey. If they just backed off, they realized they got the free kill. They have just gone to the opposite side of the jungle. They would have survived there, right? And I was about to say, you saw the weakness of going Kraken Slayer on most ADCs, because if Gale Force on either one probably would have made a difference, or Shield Blow on either one probably would have made a difference in terms of how those fight went. But either way, good job to the Vipers. They made it look kind of easy.
It's too easy.
It's
too easy, baby. It's too easy. When you got Garen, you got the wins. You don't even need to think about it, baby. Garen, best champion in the game. I don't want to hear any disrespect before my man from Demacia, baby.
Nothing.
His gameplay, impeccable. His macro, incredible. He is unmatched talent in the top lane, and I will hear no more disrespect for my man, Garen.
Garen was definitely in that game. That is one point you got correct. Garen was definitely one of the champions in that game. As for the rest,
one of 10 champions in that game. All right, I'm actually blind without my glasses on, so.
I mean, if we have the damage charts available, we can go and take a look. That the Garen didn't really do much there. That was a bit of a gent gap, if we're being honest about what the story of that
absolutely
was. I mean,
yeah, no, that Veigar was so strong. It was able to start scaling so early with some great roaming plays and getting all those early kills that you need on Veigar to actually get things happening. And we saw that against the very like mid-rangey comp that the Outlaws brought, the Cage and the Meteors and the instant kill pressure from the Veigar is just so good, and it makes up for the fact that they were literally playing 4v5 with a Garen who's hanging out in top lane or in a side lane doing actually nothing.
I'm so happy, by the way, as we are on the desk, I have a chance to glance at chat, that Slim Fursa is in the chat. I'm glad he got to see the Garen pick up a W. That's the only player I trust to lock in Garen in my games. So shout out to Slim Wildfire Gaming in the chat there, backseating on the Garen. But yeah, I mean, it's as you say, Becky, like, you know, the Vygar with Infernal Soul, what are you going to do when you reach that late game as that little evil overlord? We saw him, the Vayne at half health in the wild growth, gone. I mean, it was insane.
It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah. It was a crazy game for sure. And the Outlaws, they have eaten another loss this week, and it's not looking good for this new roster. We'll have to see where they go from here. The Vipers, however, picking up a very important win for themselves. Always good to get one on the board, especially for Garen, who has been looking for them for a long time. Other than that, that will be it for this match. We're going to be going to a quick break. When we come back, we'll be getting into the discussion about our next match between the Phantoms and the Wolves. Stick around for more Victoris GG VAD action. Thank you for watching.
Even
Welcome back, everybody, for more of the Victoris Amateur Draft League. We're here with our final match of the day between the Phantoms and the Wolves. And, I mean, of course, before we went to break, we forgot to award player of the game, but there was no reason to. We all know it goes to Ruby Jesters Garen, so we're not even going to talk about it. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to the Phantoms versus the Wolves. And this is... It's rough to really talk about these sorts of matches because the Phantoms have been having roster shuffles and a lot of other things happening within the team. And their games have not necessarily been very good. To be blunt about it, they kind of get stomped in a lot of their matches. And today has been no different in terms of their first two matches they've played today. Both of them were pretty crushing losses. And granted, this is with a new roster where they have brought in Weehaw, who was formerly playing for the Hounds, into the jungle. And they have La Chupa Kog'Maw, who won Rookie of the Split 2 seasons ago. Or, yeah, Rookie of the Year 2 seasons ago, if production could clarify. Yeah, that Rookie during Summer Split 2 years ago. So that could be very promising, but based on their games earlier, it's not boding well, and the Wolves have won both of their matches today. Granted, one of them was in FF, as the Unicorns were having connection issues. So we will have to... But the Wolves' other match was very good. It was a very strong showing from the Wolves, so... Yeah, it's rough to talk about. I'm curious what your two thoughts might be on this sort of situation.
I mean, when it comes to, having a rough overall season, when it's not just a rough patch, but when things are basically a wash in terms of the standings, I just look to teams to go out there and have fun, right? Pick something spicy, pick those, those picks you normally would only pick in solo queue. Just make something positive out of it, And, hopefully we see a lot of that coming out tonight because I like fun picks.
Yeah, and I know there are plenty of fun picks out there, and I'm hoping we see the man once again. But I'll throw it over to you two as we go into the draft here for Phantoms versus the Wolves. Take it away, boys.
Oh boy, here we are already. I hadn't even expected that, but we are good to go, loading in, and it is going to be, as we said, the Wolves and the Phantoms going at it. I actually do not have the draft link. Excuse me for 1 second as I open that up. Here we go. Ready to go. And yeah, that's the Alawi taken off the board right off the bat. So I think the teams are already listening to me and maybe trying to preempt the fun picks. As you gotta love the Garen hover coming through here. Shoutouts.
Yeah, respecting the Garen, respecting the might of Demacia, even though it did nothing. Regardless, though, yeah, the Alawi pick is a nod to the fact that the Wolves top laner can play it. Feathers and Fur did very well for himself when he had the Alawi. Last time it got there, so taking off the Void, keeping him out of his hands. But yeah, in the mid lane, in terms of bans, we're probably gonna see some solid stuff. Normal mid laners getting banned away from the Wolves because their mid laner has shown to be proficient on all of them, right? The Victor, the Rise, Corki, all of them are in, Vex even, all of them are in his champion pool so far for the season. And right now it's starting to turn into a champ ocean, and that's just something you love to see coming from a mid laner. You really want your mid laner to be so very professed in all these different types of champions because the meta shifts very fast.
Yeah, definitely so. Is Jinx going to be the final takeaway? Finally, we see somebody ban this champion in first round of bans. Is that Graves coming in? It's going to be interesting. Is that locked in? Yes, it is. So that's Graves for the Phantom's first pick. That's interesting priority coming through on the Graves. We mostly see it in the solo lane these days. Not much of a jungler, but it's a good neutralizing pick. I feel like it doesn't really lose lane to a lot of stuff.
Absolutely not. And although one thing I do want to highlight is that the Zeri was left up, each team not really giving it the priority I think it deserves, right? And one thing that also snuck through the draft was the Graves. So Graves TF is a super strong mid jungle duo, and if they choose to flex the Graves in the top side, it's a super strong top jungle duo, or sorry, top mid duo, right? It's something that can definitely work out, especially into a Nocturne here.
Yeah, the Nocturne is definitely an interesting first pick. We don't see a lot of the Nocturnes, so definitely prioritizing comfort are the Wolves, so I do believe have done a bit of a role swap, so I don't think that Hitstick is their normal jungler, so maybe the Nocturne is a comfort for him, stepping into a role that he's not necessarily well versed in. But it's going to be Leona in response. That's much more of a meta pick coming through as the support
Mhm.
for the Phantoms. And we get to see Vayne again here, Ireland. So that's fun. That's a big fun pick. And we saw it have a couple of pop off moments last game despite losing. So now we just get more Vayne. Who doesn't love that?
A little bit more Vayne, although it's kind of rough to pick your Kai'Sa Leona into Vayne and possibly, probably Thresh here, right? The Leona is just going to end up getting flayed away, not really able to do
I
anything.
don't like Kai'Sa here. Oh.
Oh, oh, Alistar.
Okay. That's kind of the
I
same
don't
deal.
think
You
seen
know, the
Alistar in a
peel
long
support.
time.
Yeah.
Absolutely, the peel support and has the engage tools, but more than likely just going to be played as the peel, right? Like you kind of pick Alistar to not the secondary engage if you have to, but he's way better at disengaging, right? His knock away, his knock ups, his stuns as you walk into him.
Headbutt into Zenith Blade. They try and E your Vayne. Boom. Get away.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, just now it starts to turn to the solo lanes, right? You want to ban away and force this Graves into the jungle as much as possible.
Yeah, Yasuo going to be the first one taken off the board. Not that the Phantoms have really drafted anything super synergistic with the Yasuo as of yet. The Wolves had the Alistar, which typically a good one with those pulverized setups for Yasuo,
Mhm.
but going to take that one off the board. Now the Phantoms ruminating a little bit, stewing on what the next move is. Akshan taken away, definitely a good one. Is that wow? That was instant. Tryndamere taken off the board. I can't blame him.
Yeah, and if you don't have the Gragas ready for your top laner, leaving Tryndamere up is too dangerous in this current meta. Gragas, a great flex pick. Yeah, I'm positive he can go into all 5 roles, right? And I
Yeah,
say the 5th role being ADC if you have a Sin on your team, right?
like,
Um,
like read my
he's
mind.
he's so good here. And if you don't have that in your wheelhouse, don't leave up Tryndamere because Tryndamere will run through most other champions in this game. And we see the Ornn come out again. So no matter what they put into the Ornn, it's kind of going to get neutralized just by the fact that it's going to be going into an Ornn.
Yeah, as Victor made it through to the second round. That's a little bit illegal, I have to say. I would not be surprised whatsoever to see the Phantoms pick this one up. Or the
Or the
Corki. They're
Corki
both,
also made it through.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it will be the Victor locked in. I'll tell you, Victor is a very traditional, like, it's not necessarily meta, but we've seen Victor be flex top in many metas in the past. I still play Victor top. Maybe Phantoms could try something cheesy here. Do double magic damage solo lanes. Get the Victor and the Corki. Put the Graves in the jungle. I mean, what do you have to lose at this point? Just trying to deny power picks, and they are going to go for
You do
double
the
AP
double
solo
magic,
lanes.
yeah.
Victor
You,
Cannon.
what
That's fine.
I would have liked the Victor into the top lane here just because of the nature of the matchup, right? Like Victor, all he has to do is wave clear into an Ornn. He doesn't have to do anything else. He
Free
automatically gets
first
that
strike
priority.
box.
Exactly. Automatically gets priority for the Graves. They can pick up the early Rift Tail. They can accelerate the Victor further ahead if they want to, or they can keep it a farming lane. They don't have to do anything top lane with that Rift Tail. They can send it mid. They can send it bot. Like Victor just scales into the Ornn, and the Ornn has to make the play. And that never feels good to do when you're an Ornn being pressured to make the play here. And that, ooh, Yone.
So R5 Yone.
Ooh.
That's Wolves throwing down the gauntlet, and you know what? They're allowed to do that because they are, clearly the stronger team coming into the matchup. Not a lot of magic damage for them though here, Arlen.
Yeah, but they don't need a lot of magic damage when they have the Yone. Split damage for the first part and then true damage on the second part. Like he has so much damage. And it's not a bad matchup. It's actually pretty decently Yone favor going into this Victor. I like it. A lot of mid laners like it. It's a very strong thing to do. And they have a lot of combo, right? They have the Ornn, they have the Yone. If rested here on the Alistar decides to go in, they can do a lot of damage. And you know it's an overall strong AD focused comp. But on the other side, a lot of AP, a lot of disengage. They can play around washed up ADC on this Kennen. But yeah, it's really focused on this Graves in the early game. That's what I would have to say.
Yeah, definitely so. And, you know, it goes back to if I had a catchphrase as a caster, it has to be ease of execution. And it's like you point out, Wolves have so many press R and win champions that's my favorite kind of comp to see. You know, Nocturne turns the lights out, then you can't dodge the call of the Forge God, and then Yone, you know, layers the CC, doubles the knockup with that Fate Sealed. I think, you know, we didn't get a chance to really speak literally or completely definitively on our predictions, but I think we were both leaning Wolves going
Yeah.
into the game. Now post draft, I'm feeling even stronger for the Wolves. What about you, Arlen?
100%. It's got to be the Wolves this game. It's Phantoms can get ahead, but they require you to be so much better than your opponent to get ahead, right? You need to really be using this Leona to rotate around the map. You need to always have lane priority for the Victor, for the Graves to do something into this Nocturne. Top lane will automatically get lane priority, but it has to be able to ward and stay safe on this Kinnan. And Vayne has to, or not Vayne, but Kai'Sa rather, has to be able to absorb the pressure that the Vayne and Alistar are going to be giving and be able to survive and outplay those dives that will happen when, you know, their Leona goes to affect another lane. So yeah, like you said, ease execution is not on the Phantom side, and for that reason, I'm going to have to give it to the Wolves.
Yeah, definitely so. But of course, draft is not the game. The game has to be played to see who the winner will be, and that's what makes League of Legends exciting. You know, the Phantoms might be big underdogs here, but the Wolves still have to play the game, and they still have to execute and, you know, earn that win. And there's always the potential for the spiciness, for the upsets, for the underdogs to triumph. But we'll have to wait and see what does happen until the other side of the spectator delay break. So everybody stay tuned right where you are. Get your snack, hit the bathroom, get ready, because we have the last game of the night coming up for you right on the other side of the break. Stay tuned.
I just wanna feel free, and I just wanna be me. Yeah, I just wanna go so crazy. I just wanna be a freak. Yeah, I just wanna rise to the top. Yeah, I just wanna go reach the peak. So I've been really well focused on success. Hey, y'all will see. Yeah, you will see that I will get it. Cause I'm really focused, man. I make it with the rap and I just follow my path. I just follow my passion. To me, this is what's precious. Yeah, in my soul, man, I can feel it. So every single verse, man, I just gotta go and kill it, man. I gotta be the kid. I could be the guy taking you wild. I could be the villain, but that is okay. Lately, I'm painting my path on my way. Yeah, I got no time that I can waste. So I've been sitting in the space. Yeah, making rest every day, man. You know that I go insane. Yeah, I hit you with a bullet to the brain. Let us stop first, cause we going insane. You don't know what I'm gonna do. You don't know what is next. And I'm loving the fact, truly it's making me blessed. Cause I work on my team, no snakes in the grass. And we have been trust in the wind because of the work that we did in the past. Because of the work that we did in the past. When we went to hours, you barely got breath. So I get the realm and we didn't finesse. So I got the feelings that we might be next. Cause when we go in, we win in the match. Sure. When we go in, we win in the match. So that's how we do, cause we be the best. We be the best. Yeah, we be the best. Whoa. Yeah, we be the best. Yeah, we be the best. Hey, yeah, we be the best. Hey, we be the best. Yo, you wanna come and test? Whoa, you want to see we the best? Hey, you don't see that we're the best kid, so I suggest you never really come and test it. But otherwise, I will smack your face like Michael Jordan does with a ball on the basket. Oh damn kid, but you didn't expect it. You never really thought that this could just happen. But now really come on and we pull out with the action. Cause people defeat those they don't get it like.
right. It is time. It's unfortunate, but it is our last game of the night, so let's hope it's a banger to close us on out here. Victoris, of course, will be back tomorrow night, so don't worry too much. But we have the Phantoms and the Wolves going at it, and I'm just hoping the Phantoms can show us something special here and have some fun for themselves. You know, make it a worthwhile trip despite taking some L's recently.
Honestly, yeah, and if they can have fun and somehow eke out the win here, that their season won't be completely lost, right? It's not completely down the gutter, and it shows that they can win with a roster. They just need to be able to do it. But I don't. Oh, I say maybe because, like we said before this started, the draft is pretty difficult to pilot, and there are some how do I say issues with the rune setups, on the side of Phantoms. Weehaw taking Dark Harvest on the Graves, generally not seen, especially when Phase Rush is much more prevalent. Fleet Footwork, so
Yeah.
so many other options to take on the Graves. So
Yeah, Fleet Footwork helps with the jungle clear, Phase Rush with the invades and the aggression. Dark Harvest is you're gambling
not
a little
really
bit
doing
with
too
that
much.
one. You're counting on getting really ahead, and maybe he can do that. It is yet to be seen. Weehaw definitely though not afraid of putting the onus on himself to carry, which is commendable, of course. And then I gotta
100%.
put out a quick shout out to the washed up ADC. I didn't realize it worked this way, but the old LCS Superfan bundles still work when you equip the icon, which is crazy. So we have a team that isn't an LCS anymore being represented. The last, and I don't think the organization even exists anymore, unfortunately, but Echo Fox here, the last Echo Fox
Oh,
Pro on the map in the washed up ADC. Let's hope he plays more like Echo Fox. Let's see who was a top laner of theirs at one point.
Hooney?
Yeah, Hooney. I was
Hooney?
wondering if Hooney was on Echo Fox. Let's hope he plays more like Hooney and less like Rick Fox in this game.
Whoa, Rick Fox is amazing. In
I
the
love
India.
Rick Fox. He might possibly be the worst League of Legends player of all time. Even Faker couldn't
He's
carry
not.
him.
He's not Iron 4, so he's not that bad.
At one point, my friends went on a D-ranking adventure to try and get accounts that they could play with Rick Fox on, which is griefing behavior if I've ever heard of it. But I guess I can't blame them because Rick Fox, he's so
He's a
cool.
legend. He's a legend, man.
Greatest attitude too, because no matter how many times he runs it down, he gets back on his horse, and you know what? That's a lesson the Phantoms can definitely learn from. They gotta keep that mental
Absolutely.
strong.
Absolutely. As we see Ezio Killer and Chupa Kog'Maw, rather, try and do a little bit of bush cheese, but the wave's too big. They can't find the angle, and they're just going to let it drop. But, more into the macro side of things, I just want to highlight how fast this Nocturne is clearing. And the time it took Graves to do, roughly 4 camps, the Nocturne has hit up pretty much his entire, map, right? He's not going to be able to get the Scuttle Crab, and that's fine. He can trade over 1 or 2 here because he was able to clear all these camps. But he does have the priority from the top side, so Weehaw has to skedaddle out of here quickly, and a nice little dodge. He does just that.
Yeah, this Nocturne who was up about 2 camps at the time of the Scuttle take, people think of his passive as being nerfed, but the nerfs on the AoE and the sustain were not for jungle. They were for the solo lanes where he was getting a bit too prevalent. So definitely still a maniac in terms of clearing through the jungle super fast and giving over one of the Scuttle Crabs, not the biggest deal ever since those Scuttle XP and gold nerfs came through. But now it's going to be Ezio Killer engaging first, but the Aftershock has expired, so Alistar gets the stun down, rested, looking real good down there, but it's the jungle 1v1. It's Hitstick, it's Weehaw. I do believe this is the battle of the brothers, and Hitstick is coming out on top. He finds the first blood for himself, and that is already a big advantage for Wolves.
That's a massive advantage for them because, like I said, this Graves is like really the question mark of their team comp because not too many other of the lanes are going to be able to get advantages on their own. They need the Graves to somehow influence it and bring about a different change here, right? And him losing that fight to the Nocturne, and I'm gonna say it, he lost because of rune difference. If he had another rune here, he probably could have kited it out, run away, or maybe even turned it around. And yeah, he just lost the camp, so now he's going to be an entire camp down, even though he got both of those Scuttle Crabs, and it just doesn't feel good to be Weehaw right now.
Yeah, especially because I don't even think he got a Dark Harvest proc off of that. I'm hovering on him, and it doesn't look like he has a stack, so yeah, definitely questionable rune choice, but you know, who knows? Maybe Weehaw can still wind up making us eat our words. Plenty of game left to be played here. And this Hextech Drake has hit the Rift with the priority secured by Southern Warrior and rested. Maybe they can move with Hitstick, who's already ahead. Graves going to be showing on the ward here, so plenty of notice for them to hightail it out, especially with the wave in a position where it can't be frozen. It's the even amount of minions. So all things considered, if they leave it alone and their opponents have to last hit, it will push out. This is a little bit of smarts coming out from Weehaw. No vision on this. It's going to be Hitstick, you know, backing right in the front door of this Dragon Pit area, and Weehaw doesn't have any sustain because he elected not to take
Oh
the fleet.
no, Usain, what are you doing?
Can he do this?
I mean, I don't think Weehaw can do it. He definitely is gonna have the smite early. It's gonna be
Okay,
real
he has the
close.
smite. He has the refill ticking. I think just maybe is he stacking up the grit? How many grit stacks does he have?
It's gonna hit one more time. I don't think. Oh my gosh, no.
Weehaw! He goes down to the
There's so many things I
Drake.
just want to point out. Number one, Usain randomly using his ult backwards in the mid lane when he was still attached to his tether, so it didn't do anything. It was aimed at his own turret in the first place. Number two, Weehaw doing that, which of course is super int. But more importantly, the smartest thing by Hitstick, which was just to leave the Drake up and continue your camps from the top down, right? Doing that allows him to hit level 6 or get super close to level 6, and then he can start the Drake when he's a much higher level and have an almost, if not upgraded smite, right? Unfortunately, Weehaw didn't get the memo that Graves can't not do Hextech Drake, which is one of the fastest hitting Drakes besides Cloud Drake, that early on.
Yeah, it's really tragic coming out there. It's just, it's very demoralizing, I guess is the way to put it if you're the Phantoms, but they're going to have to try and keep their composure and keep themselves, you know, moving, you know, on forward. And you know what, Usain, wasting that Fate Sealed completely backwards, completely whiffing, that's a little bit of a mental advantage. At least you got that for yourselves. You know, if Affected is affecting his team, funnily enough, in the correct way, he points it out, they all have a laugh, keeps the comms light, keeps the ship afloat, and gives them some hope. It's not like they're really that far out of this game. About 1,000 gold down. Not what you want at 7 minutes, but definitely still workable. And now it's all about finding a power point for yourself. That Hextech Drake's still on the map, still ready to be claimed. And it's
now
just
that
about who can get there first.
Level 6s are being achieved across the map, it's more than likely going to be going over to the Wolves. But number one, like you pointed out that it was like 1,000 gold down, right? That's... And only one in First Blood only gives over 400 gold. So 600 of that gold alone has been coming through the farming. And you have to point it out where it's coming from. It's coming from, you know, the top lane, from the mid lane, you know,
And
not so much in the bot
well.
lane, the jungle as well, right? Like they're getting so much gold just from farming super well. And the Kitten, you know, he picked up the right choice. He realized that he wasn't going to be able to solo kill the Orin on repeat, so he doesn't go for the Doran's Blade or the Doran's Ring. He goes for the much simpler and much better option for the Cole, right? He's just got to sit back, scale up. Very smart pickup from the Kitten here, and you just have to show your appreciation to it.
Yeah, definitely so. And you see 77 farm at 8 minutes 50. That's a very good rate. He's almost done with this cull already. And very impressive for this ELO bracket to see so many members hitting near perfect farm numbers. The one, you know, standout CSer for the side of Phantoms is, you know, or two of them is Washed Up ADC and La Chupacabra. I mean, those are really standout numbers, but it might not matter if he has to flash immediately and leave a support for dead. The knockup is there. It's just Ezio Killer being forced to flash in the back end. That Aftershock doing so much work for him, though. And I really like this from both of these supports. These are both supports that you sometimes see take Glacial in this new meta, and both of them are opting for the much more traditional and I think stronger Aftershock, as now it's support onto AD Carry and support onto AD Carry, who is doing their job better. It's the Vayne and the Alistar. They find Ezio Killer. And, I mean, that was just, you know, sort of poetic. The Alistar diving onto the carry and the Vayne diving onto the carry, but one of them was just more set up to succeed there as the Vayne could free hit.
100%. And right there, getting super low in the mid lane, but nothing comes of it on both sides. Graves, you know, Weehaw did manage to pick up a nice little Rift Herald right there. Going to be able to drop it in whatever lane. But one thing I just want to highlight, you can't do that on the side of Chupacabra and Ezio Killer, you would just waste both of your flashes, both of your summons getting away from a gank. So why walk up when the wave is pushing away from you into them? They are going to win. They don't even have to use their own summoner spells. They're just going to run you down, and you can't do anything about it. You have to be so respectful of Vayne's passive. That extra movement speed when she gets her ultimate as well does so much there. And you can't fight back. So they have to burn their own ultimates to try and get away. And when Ezio Killer didn't have his own ultimate up, it was a no-show quite realistically. So yeah, they need to be more mindful, more respectful of the strength of the Vayne Alistar right here. And again, we see the Manamune rush from the Kaisa here.
Yeah, this looking to be a repeat of that hybrid build that we do so often see. As I just want to point out, the Kennen really CSing it. I know production had brought up the CS per minute numbers earlier, but if we could just get the individual gold up for the stream viewers, I can see it here. But he is really ahead of the curve. He is the richest man in the game because he's CSing so well with that cull. He is at about 4K gold and total in this game. And that was just really impressive to see, despite his team being behind, really setting himself up to be that big team fight carry, get that slicing maelstrom out and shredding through these members. But he does have to reset and buy the items before he can do so. Gold that's just sitting in your pocket is not of very much use. It has to be spent on the items to get the stats. And the topside jungle completely taken away from Weehaw there. Lots of deep vision, but now it's... Oh my goodness gracious, it's the ultimate wombo combo. It's the Nocturne flying in. Victor trying to find the return, but it was Yon who took the aggro, using that Soul Unbound to juggle it so perfectly. So it's another kill coming through for the Wolves in the mid lane. The mid jungle synergy on point for him.
100%. And you pointed out, the gold is not being used by Washed Up ADC, but you know who it is being used by? The Ornn, because of the nature of his passive. He already has the first person on the map to complete their mythic. He already has a Sunflower Cape just because he didn't ever have to really realistically leave lane. He just stood up there, tanked up this Kennen's damage, not that it was ever coming out realistically, and able to hit the mythic at a record pace. Like, he's doing it so very well, right? So yeah, very nice from the Ornn, and super good play from the mid lane, right? They saw the opportunity, they saw that Affected was too far up, only had barrier to keep him safe, tried to flash out, nothing to be done. They get the kill, they hit the ultimates, and perfect match right there. But now, again, we see Graves walking over Vision. What does Weehaw do? Because again, they're the one with the go button. They have to use this Rift Herald in about a minute's time. You want to use it to get some plates down, and if you aren't able to use it, it's kind of a waste of time to take it.
Yeah, I mean, even if you just drop it over the back wall here to try and get the guaranteed 2 plates, it's better than nothing, even though none of these turrets have been hit. I have a feeling, though, it's going to be dropped right before it expires. We'll have to see, as Yone now at level 10, able to use
they're gonna collapse.
Yeah, here it comes on to Weehaw. I mean, he drops the Herald over the wall, but he actually does make out pretty well for himself with that quick draw over the wall, so they get the plates. Good on Weehaw. I did not expect that, but he gets out with his life, he gets the plates, and, no harm, no foul from him. So, good to see. And just going back to what we were saying around the point with the junglers here, it is Hitstick who is up big time in terms of camps, so it was good Weehaw was able to find some guaranteed gold with the Herald, trying to equalize things out a little bit, although still behind by about 500 gold. And yeah, we're just waiting for the other shoe to drop, as it's been quiet for a while. Definitely our slowest game of the night, and that's one way to do it, is Yon gets the Fate Sealed out across. The Chaos Storm was enough to, send him away, but the Paranoia follow-up was ready and available. Hitstick can join any fight from across the map, and it's just another uncontested pick going over to Wolves.
And you don't want to give that pick over right when the Drake is about to spawn, right? That's a minute left on the Drake. Granted, Affected will be back up, but it doesn't feel good because now Yone has more than enough time to reset, buy his items. Same with Hitstick here. They can both reset, buy items, and be back onto the map by the time your Victor is even up again. So yeah, Graves, even Weehaw pinging that he needs help on his red buff just in case it's being taken. Forcing Ezio Killer. Yeah. Forcing Ezio Killer. Let Chupacabra to walk away.
Yeah, Chupacabra and Ezio Killer both dropped stealth wards in the same brush at the same time. Which happens in solo queue a lot. Less excusable to happen on comms, and it really hampers their capability to control the vision around this dragon. Now down 1 stealth ward. We take a nice zoomed out look at that dragon pit. It is that triangle of wards. You have a far sight, a stealth, and a pink. all around. The only thing they're missing is some aggressive wards behind the pit are the Wolves. For the most part, they should feel very comfortable moving in on this Windrake, knowing the angles they'll be approached at all times. Now they're even going to clear out these little stealth wards. Yon taking the soul inbound forward. The Aftershock was good, but the Condemn is even better onto Leona. She will fall. The Exhaust going down onto Southern Warrior, but he's continuing to chase it. Got 2 of those Silver Bolt stacks down. It is going to be Hit Stick. Going aggressively onto Weehaw here, finding the red smite. It's going to try and be the Graves ultimate to escort himself out to safety, but Nocturne can still retreat. Victor might finally get the kill. No, not quite yet. Nocturne ticking so low. He gets the Triumph proc, and he does survive. It's the shutdown for Kaisa, but it matters not when it's 8-1 for Wolves.
Yeah, and the Wolves are just running away with this game. They can take whatever they want, but it's looking like the call is just to go straight onto that nice little Cloud Drake. And look at this. It's the nature of Ornn into any top. The second Kinnan left lane was finally forced out of lane due to, just losing their HP over successive trades. They lost their turret. Yeah. Even though his farm is so good this game, Ornn can do this, is doing the same thing, but better. He's able to build his items on the spot. Finally his full bot all, his boots and his proto belt. But he lost his turret to do it, and that's 400 extra gold going over into the pocket to Ornn, and that alone is enough to put him ahead, of the Kinnan. The Kinnan was up, about 200 gold for the longest time, but just better farming, and that, like I said, that extra 400 gold is enough to put him up just barely over the Kinnan. So these 2 top laners are going to be very, very strong once the time comes for them to actually start fighting and actually start using their abilities on champions.
Yeah, and it's been sort of rough to see that, Washed Up ADC has been able to generate a lot of advantage for himself, even though it is, as you rightfully pointed out, being matched by Feathers and Fur. He hasn't been able to use his gold to affect the map at all. He hasn't gotten, one of the best team fighting ultimates in the game out and about on the map. And even more critically, looking over, speaking of ultimates, as the Paranoia comes through onto the Victor, caught out, is affected, and he is feeling bad here. He wants to try and turn it around, and he almost does, kind of, but Nocturne just has so much sustain. And when Affected died there, I do believe he was still only level 10, so it's level 2 ultimates for both solo laners and the jungler on the side of Wolves, and only level 1 ultimates for Weehaw and Affected. So that makes such a big difference around the team fights. The only strong point you have here is the Kennen, but he's not doing anything. He's been sitting top lane the whole time, and when you're going to have 2 top laners just sitting top the whole time, Ornn is always going to come out on top, because that shield bell procced and popped and wasted away by Weehaw. So that's a big cooldown that's going to be gone ahead of this Nasher. I mean, things are just looking so rough for Phantoms.
Ezio Killer opting to start the play off here.
Yeah, finds the engage. It's Vayne free hitting though. The Silver Bolt's just going to... Yeah, it just tears right through Leona. The true damage too powerful. Now Kaisa is forced to turn tail and duck away. Maybe it was Southern Warrior getting a bit feisty there, as that second Rift Herald now scooped up and taken away for Wolves. I mean, it is just a clean sweep across the map. They are picking up everything. And now it could be this other tier 1 turret, the next to fall in the bot lane. That Dark Harvest merely tickling rested, had no ultimate available, had no Aftershock up, and yet, solo health, the Dark Harvest and the ulti just not doing anything, or rather the Q from Graves not doing anything. Very questionable. Is now
watching.
Yeah, who's saying it's just on a killing spree? I mean, it's so rough here for Phantom.
It sucks so much. And again, the Nocturne ulting directly onto Affected. He has the berry. He's trying to survive. He has a little bit of damage to turn back, and it's
enough. Do it this time! Oh, the last... Yes, he does it! The shutdown! The minion auto is going to be the deciding factor in that play there, but the Paranoia is off cooldown, finally punished by Weehaw onto hit, or rather by Affected onto hit stick. But are they losing too much in the cross map, as this tier 2 is going to fall? And it will indeed fall down, so it's 6k, the gold lead now for the Wolves, and they're not done yet. Soul Unbound, Fate Sealed, the Spirit Cleave, that's Leona, nowhere to go, nowhere to run. Oh, the Zenith Blade was good to escort her out one direction. Finally, we see the Slicing Maelstrom, and it will find one, but it is not going to be enough to find Yon through the shield bow. He's Soul Unbinds, he's on to Victor, he's pressing forward, Kennen forced to flash defensively, so that's 1 kill, but it was just the support. These 2 big shutdowns saved and shepherded out by their shield bows.
Yeah, that was really good play. by the Wolves there. Like they saw their opportunity, they went in, even though Hitstick died, they saw the opportunity that he provided them in his death, you know, just pick up that tier 1, pick up some several kills off the back of it. You know, got a little bit greedy, lost the Alistar in it, but it's fine, right? Totally fine play to make. And look, Feathers and Fur picking up the tier 2 in the mid lane. It's looking very close, not going to pick it up, but either way, very fine play overall, and you just have to commend it. But yeah, we finally saw the strength of Washed Up right there. Able to pick up 1 kill. Feels very good for him to do so, especially when you have more than perfect CS, right? More than 10 CS a minute. Any amount of kills onto this Kennen is just going to be magnified, right? It's just a force multiplier, realistically. And hopefully they are able to use this force, bring it to bear when this Ocean Drake spawns in 30 seconds.
Yeah, definitely the case. And big shout-outs to Aegis coming through with the raid of 36. Big ups, very appreciated. But now, right on time, it's the Paranoia, it's Hitstick, continuing to do it off a cooldown, the Spell Shield providing so much value as well. Now, Washed Up ADC does have the Zonias, uses it at the very last minute. That red buff is still continuing to tick. But could this be the trade? Did Hitstick overextend to find it? I think he did, and yes, he falls. Weehaw getting that one. As, I mean, I think you'll take that at this point as Phantoms, but you lose the mid tier 2 as well, and the top tier 2. I mean, so much falls for it. Hitstick buys so much time.
100%. I 100% take that trade any day of the week. You know, the only if and statement is the fact that Drake can be picked up by them, you know, a lot easier than it can be by us. But I get around that by we kill them, right? It doesn't matter if they get the Drake if we ace their team and then end the game or pick a Baron off of that, because our jungler will be up, their jungler will be dead. They have a lot of options here, but Hussein is the one taking the Drake, doesn't get over the wall, so kind of rough situation.
Yeah, Rested just walking menacingly at, you know, Weehaw there and convincing him to go away. But the TP from Kennen with the Slicing Maelstrom up looked like it was enough to persuade the defeat. Yeah, he's in the backline with the Slicing Maelstrom, but it's not enough to find the kill. They do get the Dragon and the objective bounty. He tries to find the outplay onto Southern Warrior, but it's not enough. And now it is the Paranoia again. It is 2 members trapped in the pit versus 4. Graves just hiding away, trying to take the quick draw over the wall, but Vayne was sitting and waiting for him. It's the double kill for Southern Warrior. Ornn continuing to chip away in the top lane. Feathers and Fur unbothered as his team wins the fight around the Drake pit. And now the Baron is ready here. It's open season on it. They have their hunting license, and they're going to be hanging Purple Worm on the hood of the car driving home.
Honestly, Feathers and Fur is a complete psychopath. I just want to say that. Decides to ignore the entire game and hit only minions. This man has 253 CS at 22 minutes, level 15, highest level in the game. This man does not care. Finally joining his team in an objective in something. And more than likely, probably just going to go back to split push Ornn after this Baron is taken. No, he doesn't even, he decides not even to back in the first place. Doesn't care about going back to base. I think he's been back to base like, what, twice this game? Maybe?
Yeah, I mean,
it's an absurdly low number.
You know, I shared this. It's interesting. I got the chance to share this anecdote again. I was able to talk about it on the VTS broadcast on Friday as well. But, you know, I'm a GP main, and I have an account where I only play GP. And I like to make the name various funny things. And at one point, the name of that account was I Don't Leave Top Lane. And you know what? Feathers and Fur showing us why that can be an effective strategy, as now it's going to be Ezio Killer, poked up a little bit, but the Soul Unbound over the wall wasn't found. A bit of a misplay for Usain there. As, okay, Hitstick comes back.
Nothing to worry about.
For a second, I thought it was just a little bit of BM, like, you guys got this. You don't need me anymore. Just close that without me. I'm going to go make myself a snack. But... I mean, yeah, it's all the lanes pushing. There's objective bounties on the map for Phantoms to claim if they can get to it. But I'm not sure if that point is ever going to come, as it's 3 pushing waves of Baron minions. It was Washed Up ADC taking that surge, trying to find a play forward to get some sort of answer back, but just nothing really working for Phantoms right now. At the very least, they're clearing out defensively successfully.
Yeah, 10,000 gold down at 24 minutes. Not a situation you want to be in. An absolute stomp going on for them. How do they get back into the game? Well, they have to find their picks, right? They have to be able to go for these picks a lot more aggressively than they have been. They're really playing way too cautious. They have to realize that they're at the point of the game where you have to throw things to the wind. Your Kennen is your strongest member, and he's not making any play. He's not looking for those opportunities. That's what he should be doing, right? Oh, quick pause.
Oh, as yeah, we
some
do see some
internet
connection
issues.
issues being the problem here, and interestingly enough, it's Weehaw and Hitstick on the same internet. I'm fairly sure. I think the trivia is that they live in the same house and they're brothers. So I don't know. Maybe a little bit of sabotage coming out here. No, that's a complete joke. Please don't take that as an accusation. But yeah, it's Hitstick. Doing the finagling, you go, you unplug the router, you plug it back in, you disconnect it, reconnect till your ping is acceptable. But I don't think it's going to be too much of a detriment here for the Wolves. And they're just, maybe this is a throwback for all my 90s babies out there. Maybe their mom answered the phone, as the second freezing pause that does always happen after a real pause in the client came through. That's all that freeze up was. We're ready to go. We're moving through.
Yeah, and this all this internet stuff has stalled out the pace of the game, to be expected when one of your members are not around, and especially when Hitstick is the one making plays, right? Pretty much all the plays have been started off of Hitstick finding the angle. A few of them from Usain as well, but mostly Hitstick finding the angle, forcing plays on the other side of the map while something else happens, goes down. They haven't had to really use the engage from Feathers and Fur. I don't think he's even used his Ornn ultimate once this game. But yeah, maybe something finally happens around this Ocean Drake, or maybe the Phantoms just choose to sack it again and look for, advantages, trying to farm up, trying to do something, trying to find a kill into Feathers and Fur, but I don't think that's a realistic option.
Yeah, and so often when a team is hard winning, maybe we avoid criticizing them. One thing I don't like that I'm seeing coming out from Hitstick here is he's building into the Sterix gauge, which after the revert on it is not a very good item on the Nocturne here. He scales much harder with bonus AD than base AD, so not really an item that you want for him. The sustain and the tanking is not going to be there the way it was on the last iteration, but he's so far ahead. I'm not really that confident it'll make much of a difference, as now it's just going to be Weehaw moving forward to try and scout and getting caught out, and this is what happens when you're so far behind. You die looking for vision, but it's actually Nocturne is shut down, but the Call of the Forge God has turned it right back around. The Fate sealed as well, finding the Kaisa. Washed up ADC trying to do what he can with the Slicing Maelstrom, the flash back, but he will be picked off. It's too little, it's too late, it's 4 members down already. It's affected, running for his life, but it's Bane. The aggressive flash, tumbling forward, the triple kill for Usain, and that should be the game as well. The ace is clean. The base will fall. The Nexus is not far behind, and it is Hitstick who's going to get to decide what TV channel goes on tonight, because he's the one who has picked up the game. What a great way to end it here.
Absolutely, you're right on the money. It was just a complete stomping from start to finish. They had opportunities, but they didn't make enough of them. Didn't do too much. They just kind of let the game slip out of the grasp of their fingers.
Counting the stats a little bit, playing around, maybe not.
Playing around with their food. Nothing really to talk about. Getting kills that they want. Southern Warrior almost dying for funsies, but yep, there goes the Nexus, and that will be the Wolves taking a very easy W.
Yeah, definitely so. And I swear I'm not a boomer. I was born in 1998. I don't know why I made a dial-up internet and a TV channel reference in the space of a minute and a half. I know nobody watches TV anymore, but
Hey, that's not true. I watch TV.
You watch TV, Becky?
Yeah, sometimes. Usually it's when I'm doing chores, like I'm cleaning dishes in the kitchen and TV's on in the other room. So I'm like, well, if I'm already gonna be doing dishes, I might as well watch the TV since it's on. I don't actively turn on the TV to watch it. I am not elderly, so.
Not elderly. Hey, yo, my grandma feels called out, dude.
Oh, no.
Despite the quiz earlier, not elderly, but it's all right. But who's not all right is the Phantoms, who they ate another loss this game, as the Wolves devoured them quite thoroughly. Just not really any position in the game where the Phantoms had any sort of lead or way to get into it. they just sort of got routed across the map. Like, you had those sorts of things you were looking at, like the Kennen, who was CSing really well, but then he didn't use his gold for anything. He apparently was playing Fafnir and Smite and just didn't want to purchase things, one of those bonus stats. You saw like a couple of decent moves from La Chupa Kog'Maw. If we can look at these damage charts, we can get a better look at exactly what happened behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that sums it up.
That explains it. But
That about sums it up. Wow.
right there, it's just
Interesting.
it's one of those things that I can tell you quite literally, you can pinpoint where it went wrong. It was too much passivity on the side of the Phantoms. They didn't make any plays trying to go to his top side. The Ornn was pretty much perma pushing at all times. They didn't try to do anything around that. They didn't move the Leona out of lane at all. Realized that Alistar and Leona, or Leona into Alistar rather, not a winning matchup and something you can never engage into because they will always turn it around, right? And we saw that several times. The Vayne just kited out Izio Killer, and he died on repeat. So they never moved him around, never moved Raves really to do anything besides take a few Drake here and there, and then Riftailed. The shining member on their team was really the Victor, right? The Victor doing what he could, putting up the numbers, trying to get gold, but he was just camped, and that's the main story at the end of the day. You got camped, and not good feeling.
Yeah, and another story we need to look at is turret damage, because while Ornn's damage is low, he was putting up so much pressure throughout the whole game, just with his split pushing. And you can see it there. He did not have the most, but, you know, considering Yone is like a DPS champion and Ornn is a big idiot, you know, I have to sort of appreciate the fact that the Ornn was able to do so much to turrets.
Yeah,
Despite having
so much.
limited DPS, you know, even with the turret breaker rune, whatever
And the
that's
one time
called.
demolish. And the one time
Demolish.
we did see Ornn team fight, granted his team was so far ahead it would be almost impossible to lose it, but in that last team fight he hit a multi-man call of the Forge God,
Yeah.
set up the Wombo, so it's not like his team fighting was bad either. He just knew exactly what was needed that game. And
do nothing
yeah.
and win.
And unfortunately, it's just like, what is Kennen are you supposed to do against a split push Ornn who just kind of tanks everything you're throwing at him? It's really you're supposed to just kind of farm back, and we did see washed up ADC do that. And then they didn't spend the gold, and they didn't convert that gold advantage anywhere on the map. And Ornn was just able to keep split pushing, keep applying that pressure, and was able to just be a solid rock for his team, who were already winning across the map.
Absolutely. And I won't even say that Kennen had a gold advantage. I think, like we pointed out, his gold advantage was like at most 300 over the Ornn at one point, and that was when he had finished his coal. So maybe if he had backed and bought his items then, he was able to do something, but even then he never really had a significant gold advantage, but he did have a significant gold advantage over everybody else in the game, right? Only person he didn't have a significant gold advantage was generally going to be the Ornn, or, you know, Hitstick with multiple kills on this Nocturne. So maybe he could have done something in that little downtime where he had the slight advantage, but it just fell out of their fingers and they weren't able to do anything.
And I think it speaks, right, to philosophically where we're at in the meta of League of Legends right now. Since the TP changes did come through, Kennen, you know, is a champion that traditionally, if he was that far ahead, he could have reset early, you know, used his good CS to get himself onto an item spike first in the game, and then TP'd bot lane for a big AoE play to get his bot lane ahead. But he didn't have Unleashed Teleport till 14 minutes, so there was no real way to affect the map as Kennen. It's why we're seeing, you know, two extreme schools of thought. We're seeing the OP-ness of Hullbreaker, or, you know, a champion like Ornn who just doesn't want to leave top lane, just wants to get all that objective money. Or we're seeing the exact opposite with the Smite Jannas and the Smite Karmas and the Iverns who say, screw top lane, I'm just roaming the whole game because top lane doesn't matter. Advantages gained there are nothing. So it's definitely an interesting reflection of where we are in the current times.
Yeah, and we can even see that, like, sort of Drake priority with the positioning that Red Side gets onto Drake. We saw 3 wins for we saw a triple Red Side win today.
That we did.
At least for the streamed matches, which very interesting because traditionally blue side has a higher win rate, and perhaps it still does right now. I guess I haven't looked into that research myself,
Not
but
recently, maybe. No.
you know, it is something to note how these top lane is shifting because of the teleport changes, like you pointed out. And I mean, I'm a little disappointed about it. I like doing TP plays as a top laner, but I mean, I also like just turning my brain off and split pushing as Ornn. So you know, I best of both worlds. You know, it happens. But hey, you know, it's what it is. And that last game was about what we all predicted and expected. And so we have come to the end of another week of the Victoris Amateur Draft. We do not have the standings quite yet, just because those have to be, you know, put together, and there's games that are still going on, and so on and so forth. But you know, we'll have those for you next week. I will say that so far, I believe the Hammerheads have still not lost a game. We're waiting for their next match to be reported, but it is possible that the Hammerheads will go through the first round robin, because this is the end of the first round robin. This is it. This is the end of that. Every team's played each other. Well, except for the Outlaws, which is in a weird situation.
Yeah.
we don't need to worry about that right now. And if the Hammerheads can squeak through with no losses in the first round robin, that's very impressive.
Very nice. Yeah.
Definitely the case. And I just want to say, you know, I'm not going to be back next week. I was just filling in, but it was a really fun night. I had a great time. So thanks to everybody for giving me this opportunity. Great games. Great games.
Yeah, why don't you go and plug yourself real quick, Dodge, since you're already on it.
You can find me on Twitter, Insta, YouTube, Twitch, all the good ones. It's exactly the same. It's Infinite Dodge, capital I, capital D, all one word. You can also see me now on every Wednesday and Thursday. I host VRS, and I will be doing VAS play-by-play on Wednesdays. So, you know, you're going to be getting real sick of me real soon here on Victoris. But again, thanks so much to everybody for having me around. It was great games. It was great working with all of you guys tonight. It was awesome.
Yeah. And how about you, Arlen? Any final thoughts or things you want to plug?
Yeah, you said it. You summed it up perfectly yourself. You know, if the Hounds are able, no, not the Hounds. My brain's
Hammerheads.
Hounds
actually had a good week though.
Yeah, they did.
They got a couple games. They got a couple games.
I was looking at their stats, but Hammerheads, if they're able to get through this round robin without dropping a single match, huge, right? Like absolutely massive, because they can take that confidence and go into the next, you know, round robin and kind of experiment a little bit more. This one, they can play it standard, just win with the normal things, but they can experiment more and see if they can win doing some weird things, some new techs, some practice picks that they only see in scrims, and move forward into the rest of the week, rest of the round robin, and get to playoffs quite comfortably. You know, rest of the standings, I'm looking at, you know, Dragons and Bandits trying to pull themselves up. They had a nice start, but unfortunately fell through. Hopefully they can bring themselves up by the bootstraps and give us some more good games.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't you go and plug yourself as well, my buddy Arlen?
You can find me at Twitter, still not tweeting, at Artlangic.
Hey, you know what? It's all about the promotions and
all about the timing.
Yeah, all about the timing and yeah.
Speaking of promotion, I'm sorry to cut you off, Becky. I just have one more I did want to plug that completely slipped my mind. LJL officially unofficial with some of your favorite Victoris talent, including myself, Beautiful Crow, and Echo KO making the hop over. It's early in the mornings, you know, North American time, but definitely go and throw it a follow because a lot of great Victoris folks making a home over there as well.
That is very exciting having an English broadcast for the LJL, even if it's official, unofficial. Because I actually watched quite a bit of the LJL while I was taking Japanese classes in college because it was decent listening practice. You know, it was decent practice for, like, you know, hearing words. Sure, it wasn't like conversations, but it was decent enough. So I watched quite a bit of LJL a couple of years ago, and it's exciting to see that and getting those players some more recognition over here in the English streams. Yeah, a lot of fun teams. Always exciting to see them play at Worlds. They always bring the hype, even if they don't win a whole lot. So it's exciting to see the LJL get some more coverage. I have been Becky Rita. You can follow me at Becky Rita Gaming. I don't make good tweets, but maybe you'll like them. Maybe. This is perhaps I will tweet about Yu-Gi-Oh complaints or more Pokemon. Those are my two personalities.
Nerf Eldritch.
Agreed. Go ahead, flip skill drain on me. See what happens, buddy. I'll break your kneecaps. Just you're
20
lucky.
Eldritch players ruin
What
flat.
is going on?
They don't.
Sorry.
Nobody else knows Yu-Gi-Oh. Me and Becky are just in our own world over here.
Yeah, this is now a Yu-Gi-Oh podcast. No, anyways, thank you all for watching tonight's broadcast of the Victoris Amateur Draft. You can tune in tomorrow at 7:45 for the pre-show of the VRD League, and on Wednesday you can tune in once again at 8 o'clock for the VAS. Thursday again for the VRS and VLS on the secondary stream. And then, their streams all week, 8 o'clock, 7:45 for the pre-shows. And this weekend, I believe it's this weekend, we are going to be having an open tournament for Valorant and League of Legends, and those will be streamed. So you can check those. The finals will be streamed. But when those happen, that'll be exciting. So you can check in on those for some weekend action if you're getting bored of watching enchanters in top lane. So, thank you everyone for tuning into the stream, and we wish you all a good night and a good week. Thank you for watching.
Bye, y'all.
Taste what fell from grace, wanna taste what fell from grace. Run away from the face, let's race if you wanna taste. You wanna mess around, I'm gonna take you down, down, down. Wanna slide and turn, such a lovely way to burn, burn, burn. I never felt like this before. I think I might just want some more. I never felt like this before. I think I might just slide. You can own that if you wanna ride. Throw your head back, make you feel alive. The kind of bad that make you feel good, good, good. The kind of wrong that make you feel right. The little bad that make you feel alive. The kind of spin that really you should, good, good. Dirty little animals. It makes your blood run hot. It makes your spit taste sweet. It makes you feel more alive than you have ever been. You get stuck between your teeth. Why would you die up there when you can live underneath? Dirty little animals. Beautiful cannibals. Slide, you can own that if you wanna ride. Throw your head back, make you feel alive. The kind of bad that make you feel good, good, good. The kind of wrong that make you feel right. The little bad that make you feel alive. The kind of spin that really you should, good, good. Dirty little animals. The kind of bad that make you feel good, good, good. The kind of spin that really you should, good, good. Never came, never same, give it luck, good luck. But when you go under, you will never go back up. Never came, never same, never going up. Cause when you go under, you will never go back up, up. Never came, never same, never going up. Cause when you go under, you will never go back up. Hey, what you say, wanna find a place to play? Hey, hey, what you say, wanna find a place to play? Slide, you can own that if you wanna ride. Throw your head back, make you feel alive. The kind of bad that make you feel good, good, good. The kind of wrong that make you feel right. The little bad that make you feel alive. The kind of spin that really you should, good, good. Slide, you can own that if you wanna ride.